Time having arrived, I declare this public comment open. Will you all please stand and join me in saluting the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So, folks, we've got some folks here for public comment. So, to reiterate before the public comment starts, this is for public comment on the specific agenda item we have in front of us, which is the acceptance or approval of the fiscal year 2023 budget submitted to us by the mayor. Comments on, are on that budget and on this subject. The council cannot add, the council cannot move money. The council can only approve what's there or cut. So please keep your comments relevant to that. And that's how we're going to keep going. Everyone on the list of speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. At the end of 3 minutes, that's it. So, Mr. Clerk, when we, as soon as everyone's finished, we will begin.
Usually it's all jumbled, you know?
Makes it easier.
What was last year?
All right, Mr. Clerk.
First citizen is Michelle Henson. You can take a seat right at the table, and the microphone is right there.
Good evening.
Good evening.
If you like, you can remove your mask for the microphone.
Good evening, councilors. Michelle Henson, 16 Ardsley Street. And prior to the Brockton City Council approving the FY 2023 budget, can the council please advise the public on the following? According to page 147 of the FY 2023 budget proposal, the objectives of the Internal Audit Department include monitor and eliminate fraud. Page 149 continues on to state that the Internal Audit Department is to be a department of 10 staff. However, it also lists there are 5 vacancies that exist, including the city auditor. Can the city council please advise what does the Brockton City Auditor, who does the Brockton City Auditor and Internal Audit Department report to? When is the last time you, as the city council, reviewed the city auditor reports? How frequently do you, as the city council, review these audit reports? And how many issues were identified in the past 3 years from the audit function that require remediation? And have these issues been remediated, or at least have remediation plans in place prior to the consideration of the 2023 budget? My other issue is our HR department. We all know that we have been sued because of bad practices, and not having an HR lead has cost us dearly. And I'm frankly a little confused as to why we would hire a diversity inclusion manager before we would hire a director, but that was the decision that you made. These vacancies in this department have cost us and are costing us, and I hope that you address this sooner rather than later. Thank you very much.
Mr. Clerk? Oh.
Thank you. Fred Fontaine, please.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, councilors. How are you guys?
Good. You've got
Very nice.
minutes, Mr. Fontaine.
Hi, my name is Fred Fontaine, 39 Clarence Street in Brockton. Basically, this is like kind of not a concern that I have per se, but I'm trying to suggest, I know that you guys want to pass the budget tonight. So my concern, we do have a lot of folks living in the city, and they are newcomers, and they're not paying attention of what's going on. So on their behalf, this is a safety issue. It's good for everybody. I know Councilor Farrell sometimes mentioned to what's going on. I appreciate that. And I would love you guys to take in consideration, there's a couple of streets here. If you could please talk to the mayor, if he could add up like some light, because there's a lot of accident, for instance, on that intersection between Belmont Street and Belmont Ave and Mahomet Street in Brockton. So there's always a lot of accident there, and then I know there's a lot of people complain about it. If you could, guys, please take that in consideration. And also, we do have that street, which is 461 Quincy Street. This is very dangerous. I drive there time to time. Before, please, you guys take the decision to vote on it. If the mayor could like chip in different thing and to help them out to really try to get some new light around there. I think it will be nice for the safety of the population of Brockton, and it will be good. It will make you guys look good, the mayor will look good, and his safety will be good also for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fontaine.
Jean Holmes Corrales.
Good evening, Ms. Holmes-Corrales.
Jean Holmes, 65 Belcher Ave. Start my time here. You need to cut the budget. You need to cut. Every year we come here, we talk about cutting, you don't cut, and then what you do is in December, you raise people's taxes, and then you pretend like, oh, you're so surprised that you didn't know what was happening, and whoa, you're so sorry. But you're not sorry because you do it every single year. This budget needs to go to $493 billion, and it needs to go there fast. What all could we be thinking about? You're going to give across-the-board raises to people that aren't even doing their jobs? What kind of nonsense and responsibility does that have to do with the taxpayers? How do you think that somebody who's not doing their job but still getting a paycheck is going to be motivated to do their job when you throw money at them? They're not. It's like a toddler. If they do something wrong and you give them candy, what do? They do the same thing wrong. That's what you're going to get when you start doing across the board instead of looking at this line by line. The budget needs to be cut. You can do that. And that's why I'm here to say you must do it. People are hurting. Taxpayers are hurting. Your friends aren't hurting because your friends are all getting raises. All the people that helped you get elected, they're all getting raises. But what about the seniors? What about the poor taxpayers? They're not getting a raise. The only raise they're getting is at the pump and at the grocery store and everywhere else. But all you're going to do is raise the budget without any care at all in mind to that problem until come election time, and then you say, oh, we were so sorry and we'll do it again. But here you are, most of you sitting here that have been here over and over, and you don't do anything ever for the taxpayers. Today, tonight, you need to cut that budget. You either cut it across the board or you go line by line and decide what is most important, but you need to cut this budget. It needs to stop now. The taxpayers are bleeding. They can't support themselves. They can't make their rent. They can't buy groceries. They can't buy needed medications. And whose fault is it? It's your fault, each and every one of you. And I'd like to note that Susan DeCastro and David Texera couldn't even find their way to the City Council building tonight. So people should know that. You should be aware as taxpayers at home who is helping you and who is not helping you. Who is continuing to raise themselves up with more money and their friends with more money and trampling you, pigs at a trough, trampling the taxpayers. Cut it now and stop it.
Thank you, Mrs. Holmes. Mr. Clerk.
Robert Ford.
Good evening, Mr. Ford.
Hi, my name is Robert Ford. I live at 61 Bonnie Street in Brockton. And I'm here to pass a few things along regarding the budget. Before I speak, look around the city hall. There's public apathy in its grandest with a handful of people here. This is the way the city operates, so, but anyway, I'll get into it. A few meetings ago, one of the councilors made a comment that the city was swimming in cash. We've come to find out, I guess the cash that's swimming is in the stabilization fund. I hear there's over $30 million sitting there. Let's take some of that money and apply it towards the budget. You know, give the ratepayers a break. Unless, you know, the money just sitting there. I know I spoke last November when we had the factor thing, and I must have hit a raw nerve because I got an application for an abatement. I brought it down to City Hall. I went to the assessor's office, and I asked the girl, what am I supposed to do? And she went over some things. She said, oh, you're making way too much money. But, you know, I'm on Social Security, my wife is. We're not poor, but we're not rich. But we didn't meet the criteria. I guess you have to be one step away from eviction before they even take $1 off your tax bill. But I asked the girl, I said, how do you join the exclusive club? She said, what do you mean? And a few years ago, we did some research. These are well-connected folks. They've got huge abatements. These people are millionaires or well on the way to becoming millionaires. And a handful of people got $317,000 worth of abatement. You know, that's what it is. But also, my good friend Dick Zaccaro, he's a long-time Brockton resident. He moved out. He's living with his daughter in Walpole right now. But he wanted to pass a few things along to you folks. Dick, if you don't know, Dick was certified by the Wharton School of Business. Years ago, he worked with Robert Crane, the state treasurer, to formulate one of the best state pension funds in the nation. But Dick is well qualified. He knows what he's talking about. Here's what he said. The city can join the state retirement system and state GIC healthcare system and save $10 million a year. They can use some of their unrestricted cash that they roll over every year to the next fiscal year budget towards funding the current year's budget to help lower taxes. They can convert enterprise accounts to general revenue accounts and free up usual cash surplus balances. They can adopt an elderly tax credit program that when you retire or hit a certain age, your tax rate and assessed value in your property is frozen for good. They can adopt a residential tax redemption if your house is assessed
Mr. Ford,
lower than the median value.
you're at 3 minutes.
Pardon?
You're at 3 minutes.
All right, I'm almost done.
No, wait, it's 3 minutes to 3 minutes, Mr. Ford.
No, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Liz Lasso. I hope I'm correct. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Good evening, Ms. Lasso.
Evening, everyone.
Floor is yours.
My name is Elizabeth Lasso. I live at 99 Armiston Street. And I'm asking, prior to the Brockton City Council approving the fiscal 2023 budget, can all of the Brockton audit reports for the past 3 years please be published on the city's website for public access prior to the City Council approving the budget this year? In absence of a chief internal auditor for over 2.5 years, and in absence of City Council review of audit reports, how does the City Council gain assurance that no fraud or mismanagement of public funds is taking place by the Brockton City government? For public funds that were budgeted for internal audit salaries and all other department salaries that were approved by the City Council for the past 2 years, what is the total amount of the public funds that were not spent on salaries due to vacancies, and where do these monies exist in the 2023 budget? So what I'm asking you tonight is to please represent your constituents and find out where that money has gone to, the exact dollar amount, year by year. You can't just say it's going to free cash, because the free cash line item in the budgets for the past several years have been pretty equal. Yet we're supposed to be taking that money and using it to hire people We don't even have half of these jobs listed. And if you guys don't know what those line item dollars are, then you really have no choice but to not vote on this budget until you get that information and until you know where every single dime and dollar has gone to and where it sits. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lasso. Mr. Clerk,
That's the last to sign up, but I think some people have come in afterwards.
is there anybody else? Good evening. Would you just put your name and address out for the clerk for the record?
Good evening, President Lally. This is Joe Walker at 156 Huffington Ave, and I request that you withhold approval of the budget until the mayor allocates funds required for the testing of the soil, air, and water at the old Remova Park, soon to be, expected to be the sports complex, to ensure that there are no impacts to the residents and neighbors to that area.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Anyone else? Seeing none, that brings an end to public comment. Thank you all for coming out. We appreciate you taking time out of your day and coming and speaking, to the city and to the council. We look forward to carrying on with the rest of this hearing. You are more than welcome to stick around.
Turn this car around.
Time having arrived, yes. Time having arrived, I declare this third and final night of budget hearings for the year of 2022 open. Madam Auditor.
First department tonight.
Oh, Councilor Azak.
I apologize, Mr. President, a moment of council's recognition. This past Tuesday, Brockton Police Lieutenant James Baroud passed away, and I would just like to express on behalf of myself and the City Council, sending out our heartfelt sympathies to his family and friends, especially Katie, his son George, and his daughter Joanna. Our condolences also go out to his brothers and sisters in blue from the Brockton Police Department. Our thoughts and prayers are with all of you, and I would like to request a moment of silence in his memory, please. May he rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. May rest in peace. Madam Auditor.
The first department this evening is Conservation Commission, presented by Rob May, Director of Planning and Economic Development.
Good evening, Mr. Director.
Good evening, Mr. President and fellow councilors. Unfortunately, Stephanie Daniels couldn't be here this evening. She is the chair of the commission, but she has her own public hearing meetings this evening over in Easton, so I'm here to take the helm. The Conservation Commission has been very active this year, continuing their series of meetings to protect the wetlands and waters of the city of Brockton. They have, as you see from your budget book, accomplished a good deal this year, including facilitating most of the open space and recreation plan, which will be completed in this new fiscal year coming up. And they have also been working with the Wildlands Trust and the project in DW Field and in Stone Park, or Stone Conservation.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Councilors, anything for Director May, Councilor Azak, followed by Councilor Nicastro.
Thank you. Thank you for presenting this evening, Mr. May. I may have brought this to your attention before, but we did pass an ordinance where some of the volunteers on these boards and commissions will be getting paid, but I don't see that for the Conservation Commission. Is that because they weren't included, or?
If memory serves me right, the Conservation Commission was not included in that list of boards that is to receive compensation. So it is not reflected in our budget.
Okay, and how does that, what do you have any any
There are some hurt feelings, yes.
hard feelings? Okay, so what we need to, I believe, make this right, Mr. Clarkson, I know because they're all volunteers, and I believe actually the Conservation Commission is the first board that, when development comes before us, it's one of the first boards when, developers go before they continue to planning and zoning or licensing, and they actually meet twice a month, I believe, right? Sometimes?
They meet on a rotating schedule. By law, it's every 21 days. And so there are times when there are 2 meetings a month.
A month. So, I did bring this up with the ordinance. I'm not sure what we need to, I believe it's an ordinance change that we need to do, but, that's something that they would need to probably put in their budget as well, because it would come out of this, correct, Mr. Clarkson?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. Should the council elect to adjust the ordinance, then we certainly could make an adjustment to the budget or request that you do so during the year.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. I'll make sure that that's corrected. Thank you, Mr. May. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Nicastro, followed by Counselor D'Agostino.
I have a few questions. The first one is, last year, under accomplishments, it was noted that the Conservation Commission joined the North American Urban Wildlife Info Network in partnership with Bridgewater State to monitor conservation area wildlife. And I'd like to know, in the past year, how has that been accomplished or undertaken?
Counselor, I will have to get some more information for you on that project. I know that there are teams out in the field monitoring wildlife. There's also a couple of different apps that are available. But I really need to figure this one out.
Okay, let us know. And the other thing is, on page 179, under performance measures, it states that staff is needed to address the objectives listed above. So what sort of staff and where do you go with that?
The performance measures reflect the objectives and how they are contributed to.
Right.
And so, the first objective is to contribute to the implementation, an update of the open space plan. So it's staff that is the one that does that. It's the activities that the planning department, the Conservation Commission, the planning board are difficult to tally from year to year because we're reacting to specific applications that we don't necessarily have control over.
Yes.
So we can't say that we will act on 12 applications this year because we don't know if we're going to get 12. It's the implementation of the staff and making sure that we're properly staffed to implement those objectives. And so I would say that the performance measure then is the actual completion of those particular activities.
Well, it's interesting because 3 of these 4 objectives were among the 2021 objectives, so last year. So I'm just wondering, they all appear to be very valid objectives. How will the Concom advance these in the coming fiscal year?
Well, the Conservation Commission and the conservation agent have been holding meetings and drafting sessions to prepare, say, the comprehensive plan or the open space plan. They've been working to draft regulations for the council's consideration for a wetlands ordinance. And we hope to be submitting that this year. But drafting legislation does take time and effort and staff to get that done. So because of the public input process and needing to bring the commission together for special meetings, it has taken longer than we had hoped.
Okay. I mean, I don't quite feel I got an answer to the performance measures, but I will let it go. I got it on the record. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor D'Agostino.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Consultants. Going back, starting with FY20 actual, $3,600 was the actual used. 21 ask was 30,000. The actual used was 2249. Can I ask what the year-to-date this year is?
Year-to-date. Is this 30? We've been fortunate that we haven't had to use it.
That would be what this year's budget is, but Tiff can look up
What
what
the
he's asking is
year-to-date.
what you've spent
Yes.
thus far this year, but we can look that up for you, Counselor.
Okay, yeah, and that's the only one that, I mean, I know, like, printing 21 actual ended up being 0, but again,
And
who knows what.
consultants under Concom
Yeah.
are generally there to work on projects that are initiated by the city.
Right.
So if DPW is doing work, say on one of the brooks, or doing something that involves stormwater, we have a contract with a house doctor contract, and so we need to have a certain amount of money put aside just in case, but there's a very good chance that we haven't used all of that. And so far, this year, we have not used any, that is correct. I thought so.
All right. And like I said, I mean, there are other items that I can see that are like that, but I can see the need, printing and, those things can come up, but this is obviously a substantial chunk of this particular budget, so thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Anybody else for conservation? All right. Thank you, Mr. Director.
Thank you, sir.
Next department is Planning, Economic Development, Director of Planning, Robert May.
Good evening, Mr. Director.
Good evening, sir, and counselors. Very busy year for planning and economic development. You can see from our accomplishments, we've completed a master plan for Lovett Brook. We've been able to attract money from US EPA and Mass Development to do brownfield cleanup here in the city. We have been working with Mass Development and their team on implementing the Trout Brook Urban Renewal Plan, developing an acquisition strategy to make that happen. We've secured funding from Mass Housing for the Housing Choice program to make improvements on Thatcher Street. We've secured funds for downtown projects, infrastructure projects, and we are also the hub for the public safety building. As we staff the meetings, make sure that all the invoices, contracting is handled through our office. I have a couple of members of my team with me. Tony, good, you'll be up next. Pam Gurley, who is our administrative assistant, and Evan Sears, who's a new employee as a entry-level planner. Oh, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't see you over there. And John Fay is with us also, senior planner. So we have 2 new staff members. In this last fiscal year, we have been working with them to bring them into the fold, up to the speed, and we're also in the process of hiring a new administrative assistant, Admin 1. We've been through a series of interviews, but we are waiting for reference checks to be done so that we can bring that person on soon. One of the reasons why we want to do that is that Pam is retiring this year. Pam is a very unique employee in that as an admin 3 does the job of a executive assistant, managing contracts, the billing, requisitioning for funding that reimbursement funding that we get from the federal government or from the state. And so with her leaving, we need to make sure that we have staff on board to manage those projects, public safety, and other projects that we're working on here. So hopefully we'll be able to hire soon.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Counselors for Director May. Counselor Farwell. Yep.
Thank you. Mr. May, just a few questions. The downtown DIF, $30,000, strike that. $300,000. How was that expended so far this year in FY 2022?
We have been using those funds and similar funds to analyze, and we have an RFP that we're about to enter into contract to start the downtown rezoning process for Trout Brook. It's currently not zoned to support the vision that has been supported there. We've been able to use money to assist with the Brockton Redevelopment Authority and their implementation of the Urban Renewal Plan, which is a DIF-eligible activity. And we've also used it to match funding from mass development. So while all the invoices have not been processed yet, there is a decent amount of money that has been spent in the last year.
So when you say you've used it with Brockton Redevelopment Authority, do we pay them to do some work, or how would those funds be allocated? A portion of those funds be allocated to the Brockton Redevelopment Authority, or is this predominantly for consultants?
No, it's not all consultants. There are specific activities, like, for example, we've hired Ninegret, which is a consulting firm, to update our restaurant incubator plan, so that would be a consulting activity. But we've also worked with the Redevelopment Authority on 93 Center Street and the legal costs and the relocation of the existing tenant to make it available for Mr. Carmen for redevelopment.
So some of the money would be used for legal costs for the BRA?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is a very small item, but it just kind of jumps out at me because I thought it was rather humorous. Food purchase is up from $600 to $1,000. What is food purchase for the Planning and Economic Development Department?
Just don't come easy.
Well, I understand, but, you know.
When we hold public meetings, and now that we're coming out of the COVID crisis and we hope to be holding more public meetings, we generally will purchase water and cookies or brownies or something like that. It helps bring people out to the meetings, and it shows our appreciation for them participating in these meetings.
All right. Let me see. Consultants is going up from 65 to 75,000. I do have to say you've been moderately, if not very successful with grants coming from the state with no match. So in the 6 years, I think I'm in my 7th year now here, the Planning and Economic Development Department seems to be driven most of the time by consultants. How do we decide whether we can handle it in-house or we have to ship it out to a consultant? Because you just mentioned zoning. I would think, this is just me, and I'm not the daily professional that you are, you'd go to the law department and you'd say to Solicitor Bridges, we've got to do some rezoning in the downtown area. Here are our objectives. Can you assign a staff attorney here in the law department to work with us to do that, as opposed to going outside? And some outside counsel is fairly expensive. some is not. So why wouldn't we do that? And what triggers the need to use an outside consultant on something as opposed to doing something in-house?
I can't speak for Solicitor Bridges, but I don't believe that we have an assistant city solicitor on staff that is as versed in zoning as what we're trying to do. When we're looking at, you know, a form-based code, which is very graphically intensive, it requires a special kind of planning and law team to pull that together. So there will be need for Solicitor Bridges' review of the materials, and she will hopefully participate, or somebody from her department will participate. But given the nature of zoning and how it's changed over the years, it's become much more technical than just a regular lawyer.
And I can accept that, although I will say that we have to master it when it's placed before us in the ordinance committee to wade through it, and we will turn to Attorney Resnick and/or Solicitor Bridges. So I guess I would say this, to the extent that you can, and I'm not going to micromanage your department, I'd give her an option. I would say, look, this is what we need to do in this particular area. If you can,
Yes.
if you can help us out, please do, and then conserve that money perhaps for something else that's really needed. You have someone in your office, I think, who raised the issue of a business improvement district concept.
Yes, sir.
And I noticed that you sent out an email supporting the Downtown Brockton Association and holding a meeting, and I'm all for information. But I want to get on the record tonight that I am concerned about that concept. It is basically a special assessment in a given geographical area, voted by a majority percentage of the property owners in that area, and those who vote against it don't have a choice. They're going to have to pay it. And one of the difficulties in this city, it pains me, but there has always been a feeling that the west side is better than the east side. And it's palpable. I don't see that. I think the people on the east side are every bit as intelligent, valuable, hardworking, and contributing to the community as people on the west side. But if we go forward with this business improvement district, in addition to having all of us have to vote on whether to approve that special assessment, my fear is that we're going to set up rich versus poor, or have versus have-not businesses. Small minority-owned businesses that might be in a given geographical area, they couldn't absorb paying the extra amount of money. However, large, very well-to-do, high-income businesses could very well say, hey, that's chump change to us. We don't mind paying it. And some of the purposes for which you can use this revenue in a business improvement district is for special events, increased police presence. I just don't want, and I'm kind of speaking to my fellow councilors, I think our obligation, you, me, the mayor, the council, is to create a city where everyone has equal access to public safety, public events, roads, streets, libraries. I don't want to have one business improvement district appear because the people in that district can afford it to have something better than someone else. And I'm just raising that tonight, folks. And maybe I'm way off base, and if I am, that's okay. I'm a big boy, I'll take the criticism. I don't want that to happen in this city. And I am really concerned that if we start getting into, well, there's a business improvement district here, they have extra police presence, they have extra security, but this district doesn't, these people can't afford it down there. I think that would really be a shame. And so to the extent that you're going to have your staff member work on that, why not have a resolve filed, come back to us again, and let's take the temperature of the council. Because if you don't have the votes to put through the special assessment and require people to pay more, why waste a lot of time on that? Switch to something else job creation, economic development in another area of the city. But take our temperature, find out where we are, and if there's overwhelming support, then by all means march forward. If there are people who share my concerns and you don't have the votes to do that, I think it would be better to call a halt to that and have your staff member work on something else. So when I saw your email today, it really raised my consciousness about not having a have versus have-not situation in the city. I just think that would be tragic because it will exacerbate the feeling that's already there between West and East. And I hope in my lifetime that West versus East goes away. So other than that, I have been a critic of yours, but I have to tell you, I am very pleased with what we have been doing in the last year and a half, 2 years. I think we're on the right track. I'll always keep an eye on what's going on, as I do with all the departments. But I also want you to know you are appreciated and your staff is appreciated. And I like the fact that even if you disagree with me, you do get right back with information and we are able to wade through it. So let's hope we have a great FY 2023.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor D'Agostino.
Hello again.
Good evening.
Two things, and my colleague kind of went into these same areas, but I wanted to ask on consultants, and I'm going to ask the same thing on other contract services. Both those items, how much has been used year to date?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on payroll. Okay. We have encumbered 10,000 so far for contract services, but we're not, and we have 5,000 available, or 500 available. So we're very close to getting to the end of that. I'm sorry, I'm stepping on, oh, it's a plug, excuse me. And then under, what am I, consulting, we have, at the moment, we have 57,000 available, but we are in the process of awarding contracts right now that will encumber a larger portion of that. It's been, in no disrespect to our procurement office, but with the new ARPA funding that has come in and the need to get that money out the door quickly, we've had to take a back seat. You know, Michael is a one-person office. He does a fantastic job.
Right.
But we would have been able to, and we still have RFPs to go out, but we're going to have to encumber them under next year's funding instead of this year's funding.
So you basically, at this point, year to date, have used about 8. Now you say you've got more that's to be encumbered.
By the end of the fiscal year, yes.
About how much? I mean, I don't need it to the penny.
I believe I have a encumbrance with UMass Boston Collins Center for about $40,000, and with Beals and Thomas for I think 20. Looking for Pam, and I can't see her. The Beals and Thomas amount is in the. It is coming out of another account. Oh, that's right. It's coming out of diff. Excuse me.
That's all right.
Sorry. So the $40,000 for UMass Boston is coming out of here.
All right. So
They're doing a study for our zoning.
By the end, when this fiscal year closes, it'll be about 48,000, give or take a few dollars, that has come out of that account.
Yes,
Between
sir.
that and the remaining 8, so we're looking at 48 used. Okay, and then you're looking for a $10,000 bump in that item. for the next fiscal year, is there something coming up that you're anticipating needing not only the whole 65, but 10 grand more?
Now that we have a new planner on staff, we're able to tackle a long-standing goal of doing additional work in the Campello neighborhood to create, we have a Campello vision. We'd like to take that into a master planning process, update the zoning. We've been able to attract some grant funds, but we need match or expanded those activities. And then that model will be able to be replicated in the Montello district also.
Okay. All right, so that's why you're anticipating needing more?
Yes, sir.
In the consulting item. Okay. All right. That is all I have. Thank you very much, and I too appreciate your responsiveness when I've reached out. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Azak, followed by
you.
Counselor Nicastro.
Good evening, Mr. May, Mr. Director.
Good evening.
Something that just caught my eye. I see that you have a vehicle repair. I didn't know you guys had a vehicle in your department.
We have one of the electric vehicles that's used by our staff, and so we have to have it serviced periodically. Is it not? Am I not on? Sorry. To have it serviced periodically and inspected.
So who drives it? Is just anybody from your?
Primarily Megan Shave, who's out in the field more than the rest of us, as she does inspections of wetland situations.
Okay. Very good, thank you. And it's nice to finally see after all these years that you have full staff, almost a full staff, which is really nice, so.
I have all the positions filled. That's not necessarily a full staff.
No, well, it's a lot more than we have had over the
Yes,
past
it
few
is.
years.
It is.
I have to thank Pam Gurley for all her years, and I know you've been saying that she's retiring, but I'm hoping she'll be coming back to consult, so.
We're thinking about having a brain transplant. She has an incredible amount of knowledge.
That may be a lot more money than consulting, so.
Yeah, maybe.
But thank you to Pam for all her hard work in the department and throughout these years. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Nicastro.
Thank you. Good evening again.
Good evening, Counselor.
So my colleague, Counselor Asak, just spoke about the vehicle repair and maintenance for the electric vehicle. So the next line of the expense summary on page 318 is depart equipment repair maintenance. So what's that?
That is the copiers, the plotters, a lot of our printing equipment.
Okay. And then under goods and supplies, you have department equipment, $10,000. So what's that?
Those are smaller pieces of equipment that we need, whether they're exterior measuring devices, components for the conservation agent, tools and equipment that she'll use. It is also small office equipment periodically, you know.
Okay. Thank you. And then, let me see. On page 315, again, performance measures for your department. And it's the same entry as for Concom, staff needed to address objectives, target 10. So, you know, combining that with your comment just about your staff.
I'm sorry, was that?
I'm waiting for you to finish.
Okay, thank you. I have sent on something most recently to Mr. Clarkson. If you look at our objectives this year, which are to complete the Lovett Brook Urban Renewal Plan, the performance measure, first performance measure should be secure funding. The second performance measure would be to complete the plan. So they're very simplistic. We don't measure numbers, you know, numbers of switches that have been removed or or miles of pipe that have been installed, like some of the other departments. So it's difficult to establish metrics because of it's a binary nature. It's either you did it or you didn't do it. It's not like,
a checklist.
yes.
So how does that mesh with staff needed to address objectives?
The staff, it is that we need to be fully staffed in order to accomplish these activities.
Objectives.
Such as, you know, the implement of Sycamore Grove, the complete the Campello rezoning study. That all takes staff activity and time. And if we don't have staff available, even when it's managing a consultant or securing a consultant, it's an objective that doesn't get accomplished.
Or is delayed?
Or it gets pushed off to the next year.
So then, under personal services, the next page, you're seeking an admin assistant one?
We're in the process of hiring an admin one to help us manage the paperwork and the grants that we get in. As we move online, there'll be much more document processing that we need to do that is not happening at the moment.
Okay. And then down below there, under personal services summary, you've got part-time entry for $10,000.
We believe that with Pam leaving, we're going to have 2 brand-new employees in the department.
Sure.
And the contracts and grants that we manage are very, very complicated. And so we may need to bring back someone from time to time to help us set up those systems and train the new staff.
Sure. When is Pam leaving? I hear this summer?
I keep saying December, and she says no, August. But what is the? August 12th. So December 12th.
2024, right?
2024, yes.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors for the director? All right, Mr. Director, I'd say you're free to go, but.
I'm not.
Right.
Almost.
Tony, would you like to join me?
You get about 2 months and you're free to go though, Pam. This is your last budget.
No.
We're gonna miss you.
Yeah, come on up.
Next department is the planning board, Tony Concaus, chairperson. I don't know if, excuse me if I mispronounced your name.
Tony Gonzalez, Chair for the Planning Board. Good evening, Mr. Chair. Good evening, councilors.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, Mr. Director. At your leisure.
Evening. Would you like to make an opening statement, or I can wing it? Hi. Planning board has been very busy, both conducting technical review of projects and our regular work with the planning board of subdivision management and of site plan review and approval. So we have a lot of projects that are underway throughout the city. We have work going on in every ward. I'm very pleased with the amount of activity that we're seeing here. I'm a little concerned about the interest rates and the cost of labor and what that's going to do to development projects, but we still have a very full agenda. And the board meets monthly to attack those. We also have special meetings from time to time when certain objects or projects come forward. So we make those activities happen.
Councilors, Councilor Farwell.
Just very quickly to my neighbor and the chairperson, I know you have assistance from the Planning and Economic Development Department when the planning board does this work. Have we reached a point where we have a volume of work and it would be helpful to have an attorney at board meetings to advise you on what you can and can't do, or what you should and shouldn't do, or to otherwise assist in your work, because the planning board really is a very critical function of the city. I mean, you can literally transform the city through the exceptional work of the planning board if we install the right controls, if we are at the top of our game. So in a long-winded way, have we reached a point where it would be helpful to have an attorney present or not?
I mean, there has been times when we wanted to discuss something with legal, so I think it is a good idea. All the time, not always, but there is times, yes.
So it would be fair to say to have the option?
Yes.
That depending upon the agenda items, have the option?
Right.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors? Counselor Minicello.
Good evening. And I agree with Councilor Farwell. This is a very important position and board. When you say optional, have that option, is that something that, Mr. May, do you think our in-house counsel, the law department, could have available someone in-house to cover those meetings when Ms. Gonzalez or her board thinks it's necessary?
When we need legal advice, we do reach out to the city solicitor. She assigns it to one of her staff. There is also an outside counsel that does work periodically for the city that has a very
in-house people, that's for sure.
strong zoning background.
But I mean, depending on how complicated, I would first want to run it by our
Yes.
in-house attorneys before we.
If I could just add to that, there was one situation when we needed counsel, and there was a delay in getting assistance from our in-house counsel, so it didn't work.
Okay. I guess maybe it needs a little coordination, or we can work on that. We can save money and work on that if necessary. I mean, if the expertise is required, the outside counsel, but I think we first need to run it by, I would suggest that we run it by our in-house attorneys before we decide that outside counsel should be retained. I mean.
That's what we do.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors? All right, now, Mr. Director, Madam Chair, you are free to go. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Next department. Next department is Information Technology with Acting Director Edward Medeiros, Jr.
Good evening, Mr. Director.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Councilors and those viewing or hearing us from places outside City Hall. Tonight, it truly is an honor to sit before you and answer questions about the ITC budget. It is both a privilege and an honor to be selected as a unit leader. Mayor Sullivan asked me on December 15th to pilot this ship. So to him, I wholeheartedly want to say thank you. The ITC had to navigate some rough waters from December through March to get this budget done. I had to lean on other departments for a lot of information that up to this point, I really wasn't involved in that deeply. I really want to thank Troy, Paul, and Tiffany in the finance department. They listened to my questions and made sure my ideas and expectations were within reach. Megan in law for her honest opinions and impartial advice when I needed it. Mike in procurement for all his information and guidance. Jim in the building department and Pat in the DPW for scheduling their people to work with mine and really get things done in a pinch. John and the assessors and pretty much all the rest of the department heads in some way, shape, or form. To echo the mayor from many of his conversations, we truly are building a wonderful team that actually communicates and gets it done. In regard to this budget, I know the mayor talked of us moving to the new public safety facility. And honestly, we cannot wait for that to happen. I cannot think of a safer place for our data and to be closer to the largest group of people and equipment that we support. The final icing on the cake with our move is that the superintendent of schools, Mike Thomas, can return our space to the high school for some needed classrooms. On Tuesday night, the clerk, Tim Cruz, spoke about a need for wireless printing, possibly in this area, and to set up, we have not allowed it for security reasons. But I will pledge to test out some new equipment and see if we can make it happen in this area. But it does raise the question of supporting this group, since my office is an 8:30 to 4:30 operation, and most of you don't come in till about 6 p.m. I mean, there are other ways around this. I do want to say that. I envision the ITC one day becoming a multiple shift office with depth to our position, similar to other departments in the city. But this will take time. This will become especially important the more we grow our systems and the closer we work with public safety. Chief Nardelli said, I was in the back cringing Tuesday when he said he still likes his pen and paper, or something close to that. To him and everyone else, I would say, as much as we all want to push for automation and technology advancements, sometimes there is no substitute for old reliable gear. But please try to incorporate tech whenever you can to save time and money. Back to the budget. One item of specific concern I know shows a 1,150% increase. It's going from $200 to $2,500, not 30 million or any large number like that. To echo the mayor and the CFO, this isn't in the name of transparency. We noticed paper and toner were being purchased from a different line item, but to us it made sense to take that cost and put it here going forward. The mayor spoke about training. I want to echo his remarks and say the ITC staff did not take any specific training for 3 years. Since December, 2 people have completed courses and 1 starts next week, technical courses. I'm a huge supporter of this, as well as anyone wanting to advance their liberal arts education. At this time, only 1 person is asking for a contractual 50% reimbursement, and it's reflecting a 117% change in that line item. Personal services increases are all a reflection of contractual obligations, except for my request to add 3 more staff members to the public safety team. We need a dedicated person for the camera system, a junior network administrator, and a tech support specialist over there. We currently have 2 staff members dedicated to that team, and with all the increases and changes, it's just not enough manpower. At this time, I would like to stop and turn it back over to all of you for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Councilors? Councilor D'Agostino.
Thank you. Thank you for being here this evening and for all the work you and your team do.
Councilor.
So a couple things. Consultants, and I've pretty much been asking everybody about this item.
Absolutely.
Year to date for this current fiscal year, year to date used.
So I apologize, I don't have that number with me. I believe it's close to 20,000.
Just working on that already. At this point, you should just be able to anticipate what I'm gonna do.
I think it's 20,000. But it's for camera system related.
Well, while she's looking that up, and you mentioned cameras.
Is it encumbered? 20? I can't remember. 22. It's 22,000. I was close, Counselor.
Used, not remaining, but used.
Not remaining, correct.
All right, so 22,000 spent on consultants year to date. Okay. So on the camera systems, there was last fall, when there were some incidents in the high school, we were talking about the need for more cameras in the building. And one of the issues that came up is the fact that I guess the server that runs those for the entire city was full. And there was work on addressing it, but I know there's been supply chain issues and shortages, et cetera, et cetera. Where do we stand on that? Because I know it's just that's not the only place where we could use some more cameras in the city.
The school department is working on, I believe, a grant to cover that particular server. We have several servers that we store data and footage on, and I was just speaking with one of them today about it. I'm not exactly sure where they're at for that. And I think the initial estimate was over $1 million to replace what was going on. But I think they're somewhere around 500,000 now for that system. But we have other servers and we have other devices. We've all been a little concerned with that piece of equipment actually not lasting much longer. It really is end of life and it's time, but it's a super expensive
They only last
endeavor.
for so long, and if we want to add more cameras, and again, not just in the high school, but in other parts of the city, there have been issues where, hey, was there a camera there to catch what happened? Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. So basically, it sounds like it's being looked into, but it's extremely expensive.
My department does have some money to replace some of the cameras and some of the smaller pieces of equipment. So we have been working on that. The mayor did give us some money to upgrade the systems outside of City Hall. So we do have some means. The finance department, Troy did speak to me, and the mayor did as well, that I believe they want to use some other funds this year and try to get some more security equipment out there, but with ARPA and other sources. I'm not exactly sure where we're gonna
Do we have
source some of this.
I guess, and maybe I didn't understand, so the server capacity was the issue that, at least I was told in that context. They may have their own separate server, which was not my understanding. So do we have a server on, I guess, on the city side that has the capacity?
I think the problem with that is the majority of the city's cameras right now are out on the road, like intersections.
Right.
I guess the best way to describe that. They record locally.
So they record locally, and then how do we obtain the footage?
So
Sorry, I know it's a dumb question, but.
It's okay. It's an app, basically, so if you're sitting at your computer in City Hall and you need to see a certain camera, if you're a police officer, when you click on that, it actually takes you through the internal network and you cross into as long as your system's authorized, the public safety network, and then you actually using a connection at the police station that goes out through the internet, and then it connects to that device out on the road to view footage on that particular device if you're looking at that particular intersection, for example.
So the server issue basically isn't an issue for the city side?
It's not as big of an issue for us. It's more of an issue for them.
That's more of a school issue.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, and I didn't quite understand the distinction between the two. Thank you for clearing that up.
You're welcome.
That was all I had. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Nicastro, followed by
Thank you.
Counselor
Good
Ajay.
evening, Mr. Medeiros.
Evening, Counsel.
You've been here for the last 2 nights, but I didn't recognize you because on the city email, you have a picture of Ted Nugent and not yourself. That's funny.
That's true.
Anyway, so on page 270, there's a list of 6 objectives of the IT department. And I'm wondering which one would be number 1?
You're the rock star from the 80s, 70s and 80s.
I don't have page 270.
That was your time.
I mean, I have the other ones electronically, but I'm just wondering which one she's looking at. Well, in my opinion, or
Yes.
because I like them all.
Okay.
I guess, no, let me retract that. I guess the most important one at this point has to be upgrading the financial software for everyone.
And is that for the latest version of Munis?
It is, I believe, one version behind from the latest, because the latest usually comes with a lot of problems.
Okay. Yeah, that takes a while, doesn't it?
To work out.
Okay. And
It's a, if I may, I'm sorry. It's a web version. It's hosted internally, but it's much friendlier to the people that work in the financial software all day.
okay.
The occasional user may not notice a big difference, but the people that are in there all day are really going to be happy about it.
Okay. And I see you're proposing 4 new employees, a level 1 and 3 level 2s.
3 new, but 1 that was vacant.
Okay. All And finally, I just wanted to say the IT help desk is very nice to me. And I'm sure when we talk on the phone, he puts me on mute and laughs about what I'm asking him.
Never.
I wouldn't blame him.
No, don't worry. But that's what we're here for.
For myself, I'm very grateful for the efforts of your department. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Azak.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Counselor.
Director. So first of all, congratulations on being interim director. So I served many years on the IT board, and I'm trying to figure out the different levels that you have under personnel services. I know that Bobby Mann retired last year, and so is it Heather that replaced Bobby?
Heather Farron did replace Bobby, yes.
Just because it says the start date was '04, but I think because she was already an employee of the city.
Yes, exactly.
So what's the difference between, like, I'm trying to figure out the level 1 to, for example, I know Mr. Alexio's been here for a long time, but he's considered level 2. What's the difference between level 2 and level, well, I guess that's it, it's level 1 and 2, right?
So-
Is that the maximum?
Nick is, yes.
Okay.
So the levels or the grades are currently a sore spot with myself and my predecessor. Some changes were made to our department, and we're in the process of trying to work that out with the mayor and the collective bargaining process. But essentially, if you look at the pay of certain individuals and you look at the grades and the titles, it really flattened out the office. So it really took away what I felt was the ability to start in a department and work your way up and take on more responsibility, get promoted, and earn a better wage. The current situation almost encourages people to step down from a higher job, what's considered higher paying, and take what used to be the lower level junior jobs, because it's not a lot of difference in pay, but an extremely different amount of responsibility. So it's 1, 2, 3. Essentially, the position I hold right now is considered, if you look at the grades, it's considered the same as a network administrator or a head system analyst. And actually, I believe right now it is one step above, but the actual pay is a very small difference. And you've got head system analyst, tech support specialist, junior network admin, all in one category. And those were never all the same category. They were different levels. So that if you came in as a tech support specialist and you wanted to move up to a junior network admin, because maybe you liked network administration, that would be, say, a $10,000 or $20,000 raise. And then to go from junior admin to regular network admin would be 10 or 20,000 more. But we've taken away that possibility right now, so it's not as appealing. And that was definitely a concern I voiced with the mayor as well, because if we are able to hire more people in more positions, it's already an uphill battle. And if I've got to battle money as well, it's really going to take a long time. So he did mention he wants to work this out with us, and the bargaining process is going on right now. So I do expect to see that fixed.
I hope it's resolved, and I hope that it is taken care of, because looking at it, and I'm not in it as you are, and it just doesn't make sense. So I hope it's taken care of.
Thank you.
So I know that last year, with, Bobby retiring, there was talk of possibly hiring a second administrative person just to be able to help with a lot of the, administrative stuff, whether it's payroll. Is that something that you're looking at, or?
That didn't happen, but what our hope was to get, for example, Heather earlier, so there would be some crossover, and it actually did happen, so we were fortunate with that part of the process, but we do not have a second person.
So there is a lady that answers the phone there. I don't see her on here.
Jean.
Yes.
She is actually assigned to us from the school department.
Well, she's from the school department,
Yes.
which brings me to the last part of my question. There was often talk of why is there two separate IT? Why is there city IT and school IT, and why can't we combine them? And I understand the school, you know, it's huge, but is that something that you've thought about, or has it been brought to your attention?
I've always thought of the school department's role of more of a curriculum geared department, and I always thought of our office as more of a business-related IT department. So they have extremely different challenges and needs, and if you look at the staffing, they have a lot more people than we do, but they have a lot more devices, a lot more people to support. So it definitely makes sense. But I guess I'm wondering, do you mean, have I ever thought about consolidation or something
That's
to
what
that
I had
effect?
heard in the past, that possibly
Sure.
consolidating.
It's always been, in my mind, something in the back of our minds. The way I look at it as well is some organizations have a chief technical officer. So maybe that is something the city would look at going forward. It absolutely could be the case. As far as combining efforts and when people think consolidation, they think reduced manpower. I'm not sure how that would play out, because unless we could figure out something where our people would help them as well, because they're constantly trying to add people. I feel for them. I feel for their pain, especially during COVID.
Right, I know they went through a lot, but I think that was the whole,
Absolutely.
because it's such a large department on the school side, and that's why I had heard talk about it possibly just maybe strengthening it by combining it. But obviously, that's something that's, you know, it's a big job, and
Absolutely.
and they do. I mean, the schools go through a totally different type of probably IT service that they offer the students and the teachers and administration there. But I just figured I'd ask because I had heard of it.
Very different.
So there's been vacant positions for a long time. Have you talked to the mayor? Is there any plans of filling them, or?
Absolutely. That topic is a sore one for us. We have a lot of trouble recruiting. It's something I've spoken with Sandy about and Yolanda from HR. They tried a couple of, I don't remember if it was a job fair. I forget what it was, but they went to a couple of things for Massasoit. And I've actually reached out personally to Massasoit the last time we tried to hire some people. And full disclosure, I was really after the continuing ed division of their graduates, because they're generally a little older, most of them have some technical experience. But we didn't even get a phone call from any of those people, or I shouldn't say, we didn't even get a resume sent over. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but.
And that always baffles me. I don't understand in a city of 100,000+ people that we can't get IT. That's like the hot thing. Like, you know, everybody studies computers and sciences. But, so I hopefully, maybe it's where we're advertising, but we'll follow up. I'll follow up on that outside of here. But thank you again for all that you do.
If I could throw in one more thing, and I know before I get the hook to get out of here, but someone mentioned to us that you don't have any women in your technical staff, and that's something my predecessor, Bill Santos, and I talked about in depth. We can't even get a woman to apply to our office, so it's not for lack of wanting to do that. And I joke with the staff that if we actually had a female technical person, it's like a unicorn, because the private industry, from what I've noticed, we did get one woman to interview, and she thought the salary was negotiable, and she told us she was already making $30,000 more than what we were offering in the max column. Wow. So that's what I joke about with my staff, is that I don't know if we'll ever get one. You never know a person's home life or circumstance. Maybe we will get one day. But if women in technology can command such high salaries, some are even getting twice as much as what we pay. I don't know when that'll happen.
Well, I hope it's soon, and I think we should be reaching out to the high school as well, because I know a lot of the students, you know.
Bill did have an intern, an excellent one. He works for the town of Foxborough now, but he went to Abington after this his stint here in Brockton. Great guy.
Hopefully next time we can keep him.
I know, right?
But
Very
thank
nice.
you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Minicello.
Good evening, Mr. Medeiros. Thank you for attending.
Good evening, Counselor.
With regard to the overtime increase to 65,000, do you anticipate needing that amount of money if you are able to hire those, fill the vacancy and then fill the 3 proposed grade level 2 people? So if they're all, if you're fortunate enough to get those people in play, do you need 65,000 in overtime?
A great question, thank you. I spoke on that question in depth with Mr. Clarkson, their staff, and the mayor. One of the problems with developing a budget so early was trying to figure out whether or not you were going to get the people that you asked for, and if you don't, what are you going to do? You're going to try to continue to push the people you have, number one, and then number two, to your exact point, if we do get the people, do you really need all that money? He brought up the exact same thing, and the truth is, we wouldn't need all that money if we get the people, so there absolutely is an interest in not using all of that. But one of the things I spoke with them.
Able to hire that many people? I'm just
I'm
curious.
sorry?
What do you think the likelihood is that you can hire that many people? Is it 50%, 70%? I mean,
it's a very hard answer to give you. We've had a lot of trouble over the years. It's a terrible example, but the last employee we hired, it took 10 months to get him. To find him.
One, and you're looking for 3.
Exactly.
So,
these are different level positions, a little higher than what we were hiring back then.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we will do this fast. I really can't give you an honest answer.
I mean, but that's an honest answer. That is an honest
Or an
answer.
exact answer,
Thank you.
excuse me.
I appreciate your honesty.
I want to be honest there.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, thank you.
Honest Mr. Medeiros. That's all we've got for you, I think.
Okay.
Thank you for coming
Thank you
in,
very
Mr.
much.
Director.
Thank you for having me.
Next department is Veteran Services. We have Veteran Services Officer Kelly Young.
Good evening, Madam Director.
Good evening, City Council President and City Council members. Today's my 1-month anniversary in this position, so I will do my best to answer your questions, but I'd like to let you know that our primary goals for the coming year will be to continue the banner campaign, the Hometown Heroes banners. I'm sure you've seen them around the city. They've had a really great response from the residents of Brockton, and we're hoping to develop some more criteria to get some more banners up. Grave markers, we're going to have a big push to take care of the cemeteries and graves in the city of Brockton. We have all the way back to the Revolutionary War graves and veterans' graves that we just need to do a better job with. And to improve the property tax work-off program.
Great, thank you. Councillor Farwell, followed by Councillor Azak.
Well, first of all, welcome. Thank you for all your work for the Memorial Day Parade. Congratulations on your anniversary. And I just want to call everyone's attention to page 369 in the budget book, because unlike information technology, all 3 positions are occupied by women. And I think that's pretty cool. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Azak.
Thank you, and I echo sentiments of Councilor Farwell. That is cool. So congratulations, and but the hometown hero flags are absolutely beautiful. I love seeing them throughout the city, so I hope that continues and grows throughout our main streets. Before I go on and ask you a quick question, I do want to recognize your predecessor, Mr. Dave Farrell, who we technically didn't get to have a real retirement party for him because of COVID. So I want to just wish him well with his retirement publicly. So thank you for his service to the city of Brockton and in this position. So with that being said, great job with the parade. And I mean, we get a lot of calls for, services for veterans. Are you planning on expanding a little bit on like, how are you planning? I know you've only been here a month. So we do get a lot of calls from veterans wanting to know the availability, and Lauren does an amazing job, but I think we should do some sort of a campaign to get the word out to some veterans about what's available to them, because a lot of them aren't aware of it. So I don't know if you have a comment or that's something that you've thought about.
I do. I have a survey I'm about to push out to get more veterans to talk to me. I don't know what our deal is, but my peers, we don't like to identify. I just tried to get a list of veteran-owned businesses so I could start a spotlight. There isn't one, no list. I mean, there are businesses, but we don't know who they are. We lost touch with quite a few folks during COVID. So I'm trying to get the survey out. I have a meeting with the Council on Aging and on July 25th to talk to them about what Veteran Services does in the city of Brockton. We're not the VA. A lot of people think we're the VA. We're separate. In terms of the services we provide, I don't want to say we're limited, but the big part of our mission are the Chapter 115 benefits, and that's determined by the State Department of Veteran Services. They're for people who are 200% below the federal poverty level or more. So I really can't do a lot about that, but I am working on partnerships. So I met with Law last week because a lot of the stuff is like, a nursing home in Hingham called, they wanted to donate hearing aids and glasses. And I said, if you can hold on to them for like a couple months, I have to have the city council approve donations. So I met with, that's just an example, right? Same thing would be for food donations, clothing, stuff like that. So we either have to partner with food banks and kind of just be the host facility, or to take donations, I have to get a little more legal counsel so I make sure I'm doing the right thing and then get your approval. But it's in the works. The services, they're coming back. COVID really, it disconnected us from a population that's already fairly isolated, and we're just trying to get everything back on track.
And I think that's really great. So I look forward to you, doing great things in the department and working with the other ladies in the department. So you spoke about grave markers, and something came up a few years ago where someone brought to my attention that the city of Brockton has a tomb of an unknown soldier. And it's right in St. Patrick's Cemetery, right off of, so that's something that I think I would love to see a little, maybe find out a little more history about it, or, bring it up. I had mentioned it to Dave Farrell, but obviously we were in COVID, and I know we started putting flags there, but maybe finding a little more history about it would be really great for the city of Brockton. But once again, thank you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Counselor. Any other counselors? All right. Thank you, Madam Director.
Thank you.
Don't go too far, though, because we're going to hit the Veterans Council
Veterans
as
Council,
well.
yes.
Yep. Veterans Council. Good evening, Madam Director.
Good evening. The Veterans Council is pretty much the Veteran Services Department at this point. We lost the majority of the Veterans Council, but this money goes toward the Memorial Day Parade, Veterans Day Parade, and we've asked for a little increase because we're now a Purple Heart city, so it will go toward the Purple Heart celebration. And in theory, once I can get the bylaws for our charter and kind of figure out the rules for the Veterans Council, I'll try to get the big veterans organizations in the city, like the VFW, the DAV, American Legion. I think I missed someone. I definitely have to get into those bylaws. But that's who the Veterans Council is, and possibly some veteran residents. And to determine, like, maybe they have an idea, like the Hometown Heroes banner or something that would benefit the residents and the veterans of the city of Brockton.
All right. Counselors, anything for the Veterans Council? Seeing none? Thank you, Madam Director. Free to go.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, City Council members. I hope you have a quick night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next department, Parks and Recreation, Superintendent of Parks, Timothy Carpenter.
Evening, Mr. Superintendent.
Good evening, Mr. President. Good evening, councilors. Good evening. As usual, I have prepared a short statement, and this year I promise it will be short. Thank you and good evening, councilors. Please allow me to take a moment to thank my staff for another successful year. My administrative assistant, Renee Brown, has once again shown dedication, professionalism, understanding, and a tremendous amount of effort She performs a critical role in the smooth operation of the department. I would also like to thank her for her contributions during the time period when we were still seeking an administrative assistant for the cemetery department. Without her support and her continued support to this day, it's been essential in the functioning of that department as well. The staff of the park department, whether assigned to DW Field Golf Course or the parks, continue to perform diligently year-round, and I owe them a debt of thanks. I'd also like to thank the staff of the Public Property Department for their work and effort to the operation of the city's pools, without whom we would not have a pool season. I know that in a perfect world, the Golf Course Enterprise Fund would fund the entire park department budget. That is a big ask, but here's a quick update towards that goal. Golf season 2021 was the second highest grossing year on record, bringing in over $1.4 million and over $1.5 million for fiscal year 21. While I do not expect we will be able to match that number for the current fiscal year, as of this past Monday, we have done just over $1.2 million for the fiscal year. In terms of our current golf season, we are approximately $460,000 as of Monday for golf season 2022, which after a slow start is about $12,000 ahead of last golf season. The one thing that I would like to point out is on the personal services sheet that you all have, there's a greenskeeper position listed as vacant. That position was filled at the end of August, so I do not have any vacant positions as of right now.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent.
With that, I guess I'll try and answer any questions you may have.
Counselors, Counselor Azak.
Thank you. Good evening, Superintendent. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
So that's great news. The golf course is doing great. It looks beautiful, and I know during COVID, you know, I think it was one of the most attended.
So our so the COVID year was the most successful most successful golf season on record, just shy of 1.5 million.
Wow. So this is great news, and, you know, we're happy to hear that. But I have to, it's budget season, once again, you know, we've asked in the past for, we've talked about getting a park ranger, park police officer dedicated to the, to DW Fields Park. And here we are another year, we still don't have anybody, so everybody's frustrated. I know that the police department does their part, you know, they do get officers, sometimes there's a dedicated officer, but it's been kind of off and on. What do we need to do to get a dedicated park ranger, get somebody really that's dedicated to our parks?
Again, so from what I understand, the park police were, I guess for lack of a better term, disbanded in the late 90s. You're right, it would be terrific to have at least one individual dedicated to that. I do commend the Brockton Police Department. Currently, I believe it's Officer Anderson that is sort of assigned to that area. So I think, you know, we can work with the mayor, with the police department, because I believe that individual would probably have to be through the police department. Otherwise, I would have to, I believe, in order to supervise them, I would have to be somewhat deputized. So I think if we could, you know, work with the mayor and CFO Clarkson, I think, you know, that would be the route we would have to go.
So we're going to do whatever we can on our end. I'll do whatever I can, but we've been talking about this since I've been on. So for the past 9 years, we've been talking about it, and every year we think this is it. This is the year we're going to get dedicated police to the park. And the park it's a jewel in our city, and and we all know that. And we need to increase security in there. We need to, you know, I think police presence, a regular police presence in all our parks, not just DW, in all our parks would definitely help the image of the city and the safety of our kids, the safety of our residents. So I'm going to do whatever we can to get someone that's dedicated. So we'll speak to the mayor. I know we've brought it up in the past, but I think this is the year that it just has to happen. So whatever we can do to add that in the budget. what would we think, Mr. CFO, to get someone in this, to get a dedicated police officer, or two? Or three? Right? We got money, right, Rodriguez?
So I think the answer to the question, Counselor, depends on what Tim was saying, and that is the role of the position and what their duties are. We can certainly talk to the mayor and the police chief and the superintendent about doing some collaborative work with the police department and perhaps assigning someone, which is a different question than creating some sort of ranger entity within the Parks Department. So I think it's a great idea. What I'll commit to is to work closely with Superintendent Carpenter and Chief Perez to see, first of all, how we would accomplish that, and then we can talk about how that would be funded.
Okay. That's our goal this year. So, because the other issue that we're dealing with also in our parks, and not just DW, is the trash overflow and trash pickup, and that obviously we wouldn't have police officers in there doing that, but what about having regular, and I know you do the best you can with what you have with your department, but I think whether it's hiring another, another person to take care of our parks, because I'll be honest, sometimes we drive by some of the smaller parks and the trash is overflowing, nobody's maintaining them. What do we need to do? Is it going to take another body in your department, or?
So there are certain parks that my staff will do a lot of the cleanup. Perkins, for example, that's one that we go to regularly. James Edgar is another that we go to every Monday. And under the Carpenter administration, there were, I believe it was 6 or 8 employees of refuse that was hired, or were hired at the time. And it was sort of the understood agreement that it was going to be their duty to sort of pick parks and empty barrels.
So that's where I knew that refuse did it, but I wasn't sure. I know your department, I think, picks up some parks, right?
Correct. There are some that we go to because we know that they're hot spots for garbage, and that will in turn interfere with just our maintenance schedule.
So if I'm understanding correctly, then I need to speak with DPW Commissioner about the refuse of the.
I mean, I think it's, again, a sort of a collaboration thing. So, if you'd like to set up a time for the 3 of us to sit down and talk, I would absolutely be open to that.
I think that's great, just because what happens is we have a problem with trash in our streets and overflowing trash from our parks, and it's all about the image. So if we can work together just to make sure everybody understands what's expected, and or that you have the that you have the tools that you need in your department to be able to do what you need to do, and that they understand, and if it's the refuse department, that everybody knows who to call if there is an issue. So thank you. And lastly, I know we've talked about this, and we talked about it last year, Mellon Street. I just talked to you about the netting for Mellon Street from the golf course. I mean, and I'm not going to repeat everything again, but that's something that needs to be done. And I know we've spoken, you were going to get an estimate. I know the numbers was ridiculous, but the other night I heard Commissioner Plouffe say that he put one up for a very small amount of money. I think he said $5,000, so I was very happy, but you said it's not the same type of netting.
It is not the same type of netting, nor is it the same amount. And they had existing infrastructure there, the guide wires to hang the netting from. So their purchase was simply the netting. What we are working on is the installation of 88-foot poles, 85-foot poles, and then the netting on top of that. And this netting is going to be up year-round, so it's going to need to withstand the winds, the storms that are going to come along with it. At this point in the process, we are simply picking dates for site visits and whatnot. I expect that the probably by the end of this month, it'll be out to bid. That's my hope. And you guys will all be apprised of the progress thereof, because I'm going to have to use retained earnings to pay for at least a portion of that project. And in order to use those funds, we do have to come to council for approval. So at that point, you'll all have a terrific update on where that project stands.
Perfect. And I know that it's a lot of money, but at the same time, I'm looking at it for liability for the city. I know we're paying on this end, but I think it'll save us in liability from, issues happening with residents. So thank you again, and thank you for all you do in your department. And Renee is always amazing. Anytime I know I call, she's really great to work with. So thank you. Thank you to all of you. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Tavares, followed by Counselor Mendez.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, actually, I'm just going to thank you for the job you done on the one at request. Actually, all the residents called, said everything has been looking great. I appreciate it. Well, I just have one question. My question is, like, I see we're paying a lot overtime. I just see you say, like, you already full staff, and I'm not quite understanding, like, why we pay so much overtime.
So while it may look like, yes, we're fully staffed. So, for example, during the golf season, I have to have employees in every day of the week to mow greens, change cups. Our most utilized time at the golf course and our most profitable, to be perfectly honest with you, time at the golf course is Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays. Now, Friday obviously is regular working hours, but Saturdays and Sundays are overtime. And you want to provide conditions that bring golfers back to the golf course. So I will have to have staff in on overtime on those days. I also use my staff on the weekends to open up the gates of the park to make sure that they're open on time. So that is both days of the weekend. During pool season, I bring my staff in to make sure that the bathrooms are clean at the pool and that trash is picked up at the pool. So that's where, and to be quite honest with you, fully staffed, quote unquote, just for the park side is 5 individuals. Right now I'm down to 4. I do have an employee out on workman's compensation. So in order to try and get all that we need to get done, there's almost no way you can get it done in 5 days. So while overtime is not mandatory, I do ask my employees to give me some hours on Saturdays.
All right, thank you. That's all.
Was that, Counselor?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Mendez.
Hello.
Hello.
So the question that I have is on page 308, we're getting 4.3 million from the ARPA funding. And then on page 313, we're increasing our pool operations 101%, and the ARPA funding was going to the pool. So what is the need for the increase despite the?
So the ARPA funds are basically for the design and construction, or design and reconstruction of the Cosgrove pool. Those funds aren't for the daily operation of the pool. The increase that you see there is a direct result of, so traditionally the BRA was able to provide funding to pay for the guards for the lifeguards at the Cosgrove pool. They're no longer available to do that. They didn't do it last year. And we were able to find some money to be able to pay for those. Again, they're not able to do it this year. So that increase that you see in that line item is to pay for the guards at the Cosgrove pool. That'll be through my budget. They hopefully will invoice me on a weekly basis. So that's where you see the increase in that line item.
And also on that page 313, there's actually a decrease of 19.3% for park playground improvements. And that is something where you would think that you would probably be asking for more money because we're always asking you to do so much more with the parks. So you sure that's going to be enough, or are we getting money from the opera or other?
So correct. So the mayor has pledged, I believe it's $1.8 million for improvements to parks throughout the city. So that's where you see some of that decrease come in. Some of those funds were shifted out of that particular line item, knowing that we had ARPA funds coming in to other areas where we're seeing significant rate increases, such as gasoline. You'll notice our gasoline line item. We have requested more money, and that's simply because, just like everybody else, we're paying more for gas. We're paying more for oil to heat our buildings. We're paying more for natural gas to heat our buildings. So some of that went to offset some of those additional costs that I requested on those particular line items.
Yeah, I didn't even ask about the gas because I think we all know the answer for that one. But yes, on 312, there's the shift differential, and that's an increase of 27.4%. What would that be, and what does that cover?
So that's contractual. That's,
Okay.
With the city settling contracts with the union employees, that's contractual.
Okay, all right, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Teixeira, followed by Counselor Nicastro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Superintendent Tim Carpenter. Consultant, it went up 300%.
So the consultant line item in my budget is predominantly used for our inspection of the dams throughout DW Field Park. So as you'll notice, last year we requested $6,500, I believe it was, and have utilized all of that money. This year we have requested more because we have a schedule of the dams that are to be inspected. And this year we have more dams to be inspected than we did last year.
Okay, department equipment rent and lease, it went up 555%.
I'm sorry, sir, I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry. Department equipment rent and lease, it went up 555. It's a small number, but when you said the percent, 555% from $900 to $5,900 this FY 2023.
Yep. So what we are trying to do is we're trying to do a lot more work, specifically at the golf course, in-house. Instead of spending $30,000 with a contractor who we have to pay prevailing wage to build us 4 tees, we're simply renting the equipment and doing it on our own in the fall. And so we don't own a mini excavator on the park side. So in order to get some of those projects done in-house, we simply have to rent the equipment to do it.
Let me ask you a question. Is it wise to own our own equipment than lease or rent it? Isn't
So for certain pieces of equipment, yes, it's absolutely. With a pause during the FY 21 fiscal capitals, we had requested a mini excavator. So I'm hoping that in the next capital request that you guys will have come before you, part of that will be in there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Carr.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Nicastro.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Nice to see you.
You too.
So in your remarks before the numbers, you talked about how the Manning Pool, which is next to the ice skating rink, right, is owned by the state. It's owned by the Department of Conservation and Recreation, and it's managed by your department. So the state is responsible for the maintenance there and for the expenses?
According to the MOU, it's generally speaking expenses over $10,000. So larger repairs, the state will help us out with. My first couple of years, I'll be honest with you, I hope they're not watching, but the state wasn't very helpful at all. And over the past couple of years, we've really gotten them to sort of kick in some stuff. So we were hoping that this year they were going to be able to replace the climbing equipment, the play equipment that's there. Unfortunately, that's probably going to have to wait until this fall or early next spring. But they're going to redo the rubber surfacing and all new play equipment in there. They did come in this year and paint the pool for us. In the past couple of years, some of the other things that they've provided to us, new chlorine tank, some safety features in the pump room. So we have leaned on them a little more in the past couple of years to, in my opinion, pay their fair share. And they are starting to come through the past couple of years.
It was great when they put up the funds in the 90s to build it. Is the splash pad, are the splash pads working?
At the Manning Pool?
Yes.
Yes, we actually did have to replace the main pump for them, but they will be working.
Okay. And so they're not open a lot, right? The pools, I mean, when will they open and when will they close?
So
For the season?
Our goal right now, there's still some work to do at the Manning Pool, that the state's looking to do some concrete work that's actually in the pool itself. We're hoping that it's actually done by tomorrow, because we're looking to maybe fill the pool starting Monday. Our goal with the Manning Pool is to open up for the 25th of this month.
Wow.
Which is actually earlier than any of the other DCR pools, even the state-run ones. This year's kind of odd with how late school is getting out. And like I said in my opening statement, we do use public property to do a majority, matter of fact, just about all of, you know, the general maintenance, the daily water checks and all that. So it's very difficult with everything else they have to do, as well as the pool, to open 2 pools in the same week. So we'll probably be a week behind with the Cosgrove pool, at least a week behind.
Okay.
And then we generally try and keep the Cosgrove open till the middle of August. There is a significant drop-off in usage just about the first week of August.
Sure.
And then we'll generally lose the guards for the Manning Pool shortly thereafter as well.
Sure, because they're students.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, and then I wanted to ask you about activities in city parks and playgrounds. Are fires ever allowed? Be it, you know.
Fires.
Yeah, fires, like a little campfire or like a fire in a grill. Is that ever allowed?
So the Park Commission has made a rule that there are no charcoal grills allowed in any park, anywhere in the city. The issue we had was people would dump out hot coals and you'd have
Leave them there.
grass fires. With approval through my office, we will allow a propane grill at certain parks. There are no grills allowed at James Edgar Playground, nor at Bent Playground on Ash Street. So there is a rule by the Park Commission that there are no grills allowed at those 2 particular parks. But with prior approval with your application, at certain other parks, you may ask to use a propane grill.
Okay, so there are none allowed at Bent or J. Edgar, but what if they're there?
Well, again, it is an issue, let's say on the weekends, and we rely on daily, weekly communication through the Quality of Life Task Force with the police department to try and help us monitor that. We do have signs up in both those parks stating
Good.
that grills are not allowed.
And what about sales, say of food?
Nope, no sales allowed. So you can't sell food. You shouldn't have alcohol to begin with, but you definitely can't sell that either.
And what if it's there anyway?
Again, that we rely on the police department to try and enforce those rules.
Well, you know where I'm going. I'm hearing from residents and others that we have a little disconnect between what the rules are, as you just explained, and what's happening on the weekends, as recently as Sunday. And so I'd like to do what I can to help all of the departments involved, and also to get the word out to the public about what the city requires.
So all of our rules and regulations are available right on the Parks Department section of the city's website.
Right.
So it's all clearly listed there. Every permit that we issue, we get a signed copy of those rules and regulations from the permit holder. So they should be fully aware of those rules and regulations.
And what if there is no permit pulled?
That's a separate issue. That's a difficult one to police. There was an issue last weekend, I believe, down at Nelson's, South
Yes.
Junior High.
Yes.
So what I've done with collaboration with the mayor is I now have a spreadsheet that we update with every permit that we pull that Chief Perez has access to, as well as the mayor. If you'd like, I can forward that to the council as well, so that you can simply go on and look to see whether there is an event permitted that day at that particular location. I can share that with you, no problem.
Perhaps at some point we can put that on the website.
We could.
Yeah.
I guess the hesitation in doing that is there are some organizations that sort of want to just have a private little thing and maybe not let everybody in the world know that
Right.
they're having their private little thing.
Okay.
You know, on that spreadsheet, you won't find, you know, a birthday party up at the gazebo, but if it's a use of a ball field or a basketball court or a park for a community event, it is listed on that spreadsheet.
Okay. Okay. And you mentioned earlier, through questioning with someone else, that you pay a lot of overtime in the summer. Yeah, and you do have a very large overtime number. And I understand there's only so many days in the week. But is it possible that one of your staff on that overtime could look in the summer at the parks and playgrounds to see what's going on? Because you understand, in the weekends, who's in charge? Who's responsible? Unless a constituent calls a city councilor and that person makes a series of calls. Do you see the disconnect?
I do. So, I mean, I guess without sort of thinking about it a little more,
Yeah.
my answer would be that, yes, my staff could go around and monitor that, I suppose. Generally speaking, though, on Saturdays, my staff is, once the gates are open at the park, about 12:30, 1 o'clock, they're gone. A lot of times these issues are after that time period.
It's true.
But even if I sent one of my employees, he or she is simply going to have to call the police anyways. One
Right.
person can't deal with a crowd of 200.
Right, which is what it was on the weekend.
Yep.
Yes. It's something that we have to explore, that I feel, this is my 5th year doing this, and it has not improved, I don't think, for numerous reasons.
It frustrates me too, Counselor.
Of course
really
it does. Yeah,
And it frustrates me for the people that do it the right way. It
right.
frustrates me, to me, for the people that, they come to me, they follow the rules, they fill out the application, they pay the application fee, which is nominal. It's $25. And so it is just as frustrating to me.
of course it is, of course. And your staff is not very large, and you cover a lot, and I know you're all stretched thin. And I'm grateful for I'm grateful you always take my calls and, you know, try to help me and my constituents.
And, you know, one of the things that I'm trying to do to address sort of increasing staff without increasing cost a great deal is, you'll see on there, hopefully with the council's support, we'll get the temporary seasonal laborers line item funded again this year. In years past, it's been difficult to fill those positions. There has been a tremendous amount of interest in those positions this year.
That's great.
Which I'm hoping will go forward. It is slightly unfair, in my opinion, to offer someone the position and find out in July 1st that it's no longer funded. So I have held off on filling a lot of those positions until hopefully the end of the night tonight or tomorrow, at which point I'd feel more confident in reaching out to more people to try and get what is help during our busiest time of year.
It sounds like that manpower, however temporary, makes a big difference for you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Carpenter. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. If you'll indulge me one moment, Counselor, I did want to just say, using this perfect segue, as more of a question for Troy, but I know that a couple of years ago, while in the last term, while Councilor D'Agostino and Councilor Minicello were on the school committee, we had some things that we were working on with the parks and addressing the need for more manpower. And I believe that Councilor D'Agostino was able to talk to you, Troy, and the superintendent and the mayor about adding some positions. Councilor, I don't know, saw the hand, if you want to take it, but I figured I'd, put that out and just see what's going on with that.
If I could maybe clarify as a point of information or what have you. Yeah, I believe, if memory serves me right, we had a conversation that because there were some folks that were saying we wanted more attention on the school fields, because the Parks Department also maintains many of the fields that are adjacent to school properties, that it was agreed that there was supposed to be 2 more hires for the Parks Department, one of which was going to be Schedule 19 back to the school budget. And then I know you and Mr. Petronio had conversations about this, and I don't know that ever came to fruition, or maybe it's in here. I don't know, but I'm just looking for a follow-up. The president and I.
The council president and I have had several discussions about that, as have school CFO Aldo Petronio and I. Those positions are not reflected in this budget, but it is something that we can work with the school department on.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I at least, and again, I'm not there now, so I can't speak for the feelings of the school department, but at the time that I was there serving as the vice chair, I think the way I understood it, everybody was on board, and then it just never quite happened, and I'm not sure how it didn't quite happen, but yeah, if we could do whatever needs to be done to get that done, because there is, I said it to the superintendent a couple weeks ago when he was here before us. If we don't give him the bodies and we don't give him the equipment and the tools, then we can't go to him and say, you're not doing, we think we want a better quality job. Well, we didn't give you the bodies and the tools to do a better quality job. That's not his fault. And that was kind of the context of that whole arrangement. So I would like to see, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, and I'm certainly sure there's support for it still on the school side, although you'd have to check with them, of course, to move forward with that. Because I know some of the fields that are youth athletic, not fields, leagues, they had voiced concerns. I mean, there was, quite a lot of concern about this. And again, like I said, if we're not going to give them the people and the tools they need, we can't really expect them to perform. So yeah, if you could maybe look into the status on that, see if we can get that to happen in sooner than later, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do want to say, thank you, Troy. Thank you, Tim. Mr. Superintendent, you are without a doubt the best Parks Commissioner I've ever worked with. And you guys do incredible. But that little extra help, I don't think you'd turn down that couple extra personnel. Councilor Farwell.
My apologies for missing your beginning of your presentation. My only comment is, depending upon how things go, I know we're in June, we're headed to July. I think you helped resolve an issue at Nelson Playground this past weekend, but if things really start spiraling out of control, then I will be asking you and Chief Perez maybe to get together and work out having an officer assigned to spot check different areas, because blocking a roadway, blocking a sidewalk, driving over a playground where someone could get hurt, that just can't go. So I just leave that open to you, that, if need be, I would certainly request that you two figure out a game plan and implement it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Is there anything else for the superintendent? Seeing none? We're good.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm not going anywhere.
Next department is Cemetery, Superintendent of Parks, Timothy Carpenter.
Mr. Superintendent.
Good evening, counselors. Again, just a quick thank you to my staff. So I would like to take a moment to publicly thank my staff at the Cemetery Department for their continued hard work and dedication to the department and to the city. So far this fiscal year, and I'm going by fiscal year on this, we were able to schedule, coordinate, and perform over 309 burials in city cemeteries, 302 of those at the Melrose, 6 at Cohasset, and 1 at the Union. And again, that's just shy of basically 1 a day if you take out Sundays and holidays. It's an extremely dedicated staff. And all this getting done while performing perpetual care duties. With that, I will answer any questions.
Councilor Farwell, followed by Councilor Mendez.
It's at this point in the night, I always like to inject a little humor, so I'm looking around, I'm the oldest one in the room. The issue of cemeteries is not my favorite one, so I will be absenting myself again for a few minutes, but thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Mendez.
Yes, so for cemetery, it looks like you're fully staffed, but the overtime just keeps increasing, and there's an increase of 47.3%. Shouldn't it be maybe a possibility to start looking to hire additional staff if that's needed to try to cut back on some of the overtime?
So there's really a minimum safety, what I feel is a minimum safety requirement for staffing of a burial. And Saturdays are a very popular time. We do a lot of burials on Saturdays. Now, again, by union contract, overtime's not mandatory, but my staff is dedicated and they do give up their Saturdays to come up and perform burials. So even with additional staff, you're still gonna have a minimum of like 3 to 4 people there anyways. So even if you said, you know, you have this weekend off, you have that weekend off, and then you add in the additional cost of healthcare and benefits and all that other stuff, that, from what I understand, the sort of $55,000 employee actually ends up costing the city $106,000. So, you know, what you see here in terms of increase in overtime, a lot of that is due to the new rates for the current employees under their new collective bargaining contract. And again, when you're doing 309 burials in a year, the grass still has to get mown, the trim work still has to get done, the garbage cans still need to get emptied. And it's not just at the Melrose. It's at Cohasset, it's at Union, it's at some of the outside cemeteries. There's a ton of work to do. So could you get it all done with 12 guys? Absolutely. But I think the cost savings analysis probably at this point still favors working the overtime as opposed to hiring additional employees.
Okay, that makes sense, and the rate increase does factor into the overtime, yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Counselor. Anybody else for the cemeteries? I don't know why, but I don't balk as much at cemeteries, so.
Add me.
Give it time. Oh, Counselor Nicastro.
Thank you. Hello again.
Hello.
On page 164, the expense summary. Under personal services non-overtime, there's an entry for employee license and registration. And in the past 2 years, that was zeroed out. But this year, it's $6,240.
Right. So part of that is renewal of licenses through the, the standard hoisting license, CDLs and all that. We do have an additional employee this year with both a hoisting license and a CDL. It's also part of the mayor's commitment to additional training. So what we're going to look into doing is some actual, what's called trench training, for lack of a better term, but we haven't done that. So I think it's an important feature to ensure the safety of the employees up there.
Workers, sure. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Tixera.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Just a quick question on the purchase service, other service for $40,000. It's on page 164.
Which line item was that, sir?
Other servers.
Oh, other services. So that line item, one of the ways that we get what we get done up there in terms of perpetual care is we've worked with the VA for the past, 8 years or so. They have a program called the Compensated Work Therapy Program, where veterans technically are working for the VA. They come and they do perpetual care work, mowing, trimming, that kind of stuff. And then the VA invoices us to essentially reimburse them the hourly rate. So the hourly rate has increased significantly over the past couple of years, which is why we've had to ask for some additional funds in that line item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Anybody else for cemeteries? All right, Mr. Superintendent, you are free to go.
Thank you. Thank you, counselors.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Next department is treasurer, collector. We have the treasurer and tax collector, Martin Brophy.
Mr. Treasurer.
Good evening, councilors. First off, I'd like to personally thank my staff for the work they do every day. Every cent you see in this budget goes through basically my 2 offices. The collector's office with a fully staffed, I currently have 6 employees in the collector's office. The maximum of the staff is 7. Year to date, we've taken in over $213 million and are on pace to pass the 216 we took in last year. The treasurer's office, we handle every payroll and accounts payable, and also tax title accounts. And again, year to date, we've taken in almost 1.5 million in tax title receipts. My largest increase in this budget, I actually pay for the city's portion of Medicare tax, and that has increased every year. And with the school department adding more bus drivers, I kind of bumped it up pretty good this year. Beyond that, I will take any questions.
All right, counselors. Counselor D'Agostino.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Couple things in the book anyway, and this may have been filled by now. There's a vacant position, an admin assistant 1. I'm trying to get a handle on how long that's been vacant. I looked at some prior budget books and staff lists. It looks like that was Mr. Gomes previously.
Melanie Gomes, yes. She actually, she actually went over to the fire department in February.
Right, so Ms. Gomes went over to the fire department. That spot is still vacant?
Yeah. I'm actually in the process of trying to set up interviews.
Okay, so I guess that's what I wanted to get to, is you're working on filling this?
Yes.
Okay, some of us have got a thing about funding vacant positions that have remained vacant consecutively years.
No, I've had vacant positions at various times, but I think this past year has been the first year I've really been fully funded and fully staffed.
Okay, all right, so that's...
Until February.
That settles that. Going on to personal services, non-OT, there's a clerical incentive. What?
That's a union incentive. Each clerk gets, I forget the exact amount, but $2,500.
Okay.
That's part of the union contract.
Okay. All right. Just see, where is it? Do you not have, you might be one of the few departments.
I do not have consultants.
I was going to say, you might be one of the few departments that doesn't have a consultant's item that you're underutilizing.
I do not have consultants on how to collect bills.
All right. All right. Very good. Then that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Nicastro.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Brophy.
Counselor.
Nice to see you. I've got your objectives. They're on page, let me put my glasses back on, 350. And none of them are ranked a 1, and I wondered, what's your number 1 objective in the coming fiscal year?
My number one objective is protecting the city's money. And we do that through, of course, you know, that's my biggest job, is protecting the city's money.
Of course.
So we do that with what's called the Veribank rating. It's a quarterly report that comes out, and it rates the banks. And every bank we deal with it currently has a green rating. And any bank we've ever dealt with, if they've ever gone below a green rating, we've reached out to them and found out what the issue was. The only time I can ever remember that happening was when what used to be Sovereign Bank was being taken over by Santander, and in that transition, they went yellow for a little bit. But beyond that, the city has always worked to maintain where we put the money.
Okay. Well, in the coming fiscal...
That's in the treasurer's office. In the collector's office, it's to collect, you know, the highest percentage of the bills that I can.
And you're doing very well with that.
Thank you.
You know, despite COVID. In the coming fiscal year, will there be another sale and auction of city-owned property?
You know, the inventory really isn't there. I mean, believe it or not, I can't think in the last 3 years, almost since COVID started, land court was basically shut down as well. So the city hasn't even received judgments on anything that we've had in court. Everything's just been on hold for the last 2 years. And of course, you know, the list that Ben Albanese was dealing with, you know, dwindled down. You know, a number on a piece of paper is not necessarily a valuable property. It could be 18 acres up on Summer Street that's underwater and cannot be sold. You know, there's no value to some of the properties on that list.
Right, sure. Right. Okay, thank you.
As of now, I don't anticipate one, but, you know, there's, again, the court seems to be starting to pick back up, so, you know, the possibility is sometime in fiscal '23, possibly.
And your tax titles all go through the land court,
Yes,
and they take forever.
yes,
Yes, even more so now.
yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Anybody else for the Treasurer Collector? Is anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Treasurer.
You're welcome.
Next department is Treasurer's Debt. We have Treasurer Collector Martin Brothy.
Mr.
Evening
Treasurer,
again.
anybody for the tax end of this? Seeing none, you are actually free to go this time.
Thank
you, councilors.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer.
Next department is Library Director Paul Engel.
Mr. Director, sorry for faking you out there.
That's okay, I wasn't paying attention. You caught me sleeping. Good evening, councilors. And I'd like to start out by thanking the mayor and the CFO, Troy, and his staff for assisting me with this budget. I'd also like to acknowledge in the House tonight, we have members of the Brockton Board of Trustees. We have Jocelyn Meek, Lisa O'Donnell, Phyllis Ellis was here, but she had to leave, and Margie Moan is here. And representing the library staff, we have Assistant Director Emily Levine, and Melise Vega is here as well. I'd like to put into context the budget document that's in front of you. Librarians live by 5 fundamental functions of public libraries. Serving as a center for information, serving as a center for self-education, serving as a center for culture, serving as a center for local history, being an independent, impartial service agency. And I think if you look at our mission and services and how they're defined, you will find that the Brockton Public Library is in good stead with all of these fundamentals of our profession. Moving forward to the accomplishments, there's an entire page of them. I would like to highlight 4 of them if I could. Last July in 2021, we kicked off the Lawn at East over at the East Branch Library. We set up children's and family games and family entertainment in the afternoon and the morning, and we ran that all summer. It was a success. We're going to do that again. The second one is that the library helped establish a poet laureate and a youth poet laureate, and I'd like to thank Councilor Farwell for his participation in that and his alacrity in working with that. The third one is the art. If you're in the Thomas P. Kennedy main branch, the art that is in the main branch right now is starting to transform and starting to look more fully like it represents the culture and the citizens of Brockton today. And that's something I'm very proud of, and we are going to be continuing that as we move through this year and into the years coming up. And finally, through tuition reimbursement, continuing ed in the library, we have celebrated 5 recent graduates of various library programs across the country. All of these people received their MLS, their Masters in Library and Information Science degrees. This is a great achievement, and it's a true investment in our community. As far as our objectives and performance measures, the objectives are lifted right out of the library's strategic plan, and they are on file with the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. The performance measures are culled from a document called the ARIS report, which is a data report we have to submit every year to the state as well through the MBLC. Both of these documents are essential for us to retain grant funding and state aid through the state. Our performance services, we are 44 staff right now. We're practically full. We are lacking in a clerk and a page, and we have a vacant principal library assistant position. The reference position that is listed here has been filled, and the administrative assistant position, which was Tina King, has been filled by Sandy Reed, who was the principal library assistant, so that's why that position is vacant. We're interviewing currently for the pages, and we will be interviewing very soon for the principal library assistant. The budget. The budget is level funded. It represents roughly 0.6% of the city's overall budget. I have confirmed with the MBLC that this budget will meet our MAR, our municipal appropriations requirement. And the highlights I'd like to show you are our separation costs. In 22, they were high. I was anticipating at that time several retirements. Only one of those really came to fruition. Keith Joquette retired in December. So we've basically moved that money over to FY23 minus the money that was paid out to Mr. Joquette. Obviously, our energy lines are higher this year. Our security line is high because we've expanded library hours and we've had to expand security efforts in those libraries. And finally, the public safety line is large because that's where we pay for our police details for the main branch, and that has become more expensive as well. Finally, we do not typically use consultants. The last consultant that I used was, I think, 2017. So, and I did talk to Councilors D'Agostino and Farwell about that before this meeting, and I did confirm that what we do does not quite fit the consultant model. So with that said, I would be happy to entertain your questions.
Questions, councilors? Councilor D'Agostino.
First, I want to thank you for reaching out when
of course.
Councilor Farwell and I started asking about consultants and had kind of sent some emails looking for information. I want to say you're still the only person to pick up a phone and say, hey, I heard you had questions on my consultant item. You know, let me fill you in on what, you know, whatever I can tell you there. So I appreciate that you were proactive. You got wind that we were looking into it, and you reached out to both of us and wanted to make sure we had the information we needed. And I really appreciate that, because forgive me if I'm offending anybody and I'm mistaken, but I don't remember getting anyone else who picked up the phone and said, hey, I heard you were looking into this and I wanted to discuss it with you, and, you know, so thank you for
You're welcome.
Being proactive and open and transparent. I do want to ask about the actual shift differential item.
You want to know what we've spent this year?
Yes.
We haven't spent a lot because of COVID has kept us down. We're right at $35,000 now. And you could probably tack on another $10,000 or $15,000 onto that. And if you go back beyond 22, I don't have that in front of me, but because we weren't open, we weren't physically open, we weren't using the shift differential, nor were we really open on Saturdays.
Right. Okay. Right, and that, you know, that's a tough one too, because, right, a fair comparison would have to be FY19.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tiffany's clearing me up here. We spent $41,991 so far. Our available balance is $35,000. And the previous years, we have used it up.
And in previous years, prior to COVID, they've used that up. Okay.
Thank you, Tiffany.
That's an important point too, because again, with the limited hours and so to compare, to really fairly compare, you got to look at the previous
Gotta go back
years.
to 19.
Okay, and then hazardous duty.
You know, I don't know exactly what that is. Maybe Troy knows?
It's not like it's a ton of money, but it just seemed like an odd thing for a library.
I agree. It's one of those I look at and I go, huh, and then I forget about it.
Right.
So
I mean,
perhaps
it's only
Troy knows, or
$1,200
perhaps I
bucks,
can
but
find out for you.
It just seemed like an odd item. Troy, do we have?
Looking at hazardous duty?
Yes, so some of the employees in the library, particularly the maintenance folks, the custodians, have hazardous duty pay in their contracts.
Okay. All right, so that's a collective bargaining thing that was bargained with the union. Okay. Other than that, that is all I have. I'll say that you run a great facility there. We, my family and I, we do use it, and my son loves going to the library, and you know, keep doing what you're doing, and thank you to your staff, and again, thank you for the call and the transparency and being so forthcoming. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other councilors have questions of the library director? You are just.
It must be getting late.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
There you go.
Not bad.
Thank you, Mr. Director.
Are you running next year?
Chief?
Police.
Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, councilors. Good evening. It's an honor to be here tonight. I'd like to take an opportunity to thank you all and Mayor Sullivan for your continued support of the police department. I'd also like to thank the CFO, Mr. Clarkson, and his team, and Captain Williamson for their hard work. And especially, I'd like to thank the men and women of the Brockton Police Department for their hard work and dedication to the city and its residents. I'd like to take a few minutes and speak about our recent accomplishments and some of our objectives moving forward. Our police department has 191 sworn officers. We have 4 recruits graduating on June 24th, and we're in the process of hiring another 14. Currently, we're down 15 officers. The health and wellness of our officers is important to us, and through the COPS Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Act grant, the department started a peer support team consisting of 21 people from the Brockton Police, School Police, Massasoit Police, emergency telephone operator, and 2 clergy. For this coming year, we're looking to train more officers. This current fiscal year, we have 2 initiatives, the cadet program and the junior cadet program. The cadet program currently has 5 cadets working full-time, and we're looking to add a 6th in this next fiscal year. The cadets have learned many soft skills like observation, research, communication, and filing. They've also been trained in more tangible skills that they can take with them. Some of the training includes state 911 certification, CJIS, CPR, and the fundamentals of law enforcement. The cadet program is a great way for young adults in the city with an interest in law enforcement to get a look at what the job entails, and the cadets have been an asset to our police department. The other initiative we had is our junior cadet program. We had two one-week sessions in August. We had 35 middle school Brockton youth participating. This program will act as a feeder program to our cadet program. The junior cadets were introduced to the K-9, SRT, and bike units and had classes that included fingerprinting basics, water safety, and basic personal finance. They also practiced marching and had daily physical fitness training. Junior cadets went to either a Boston Red Sox or a New England Revolution game, and also went on a tour of the Boston Harbor with the Mass State Police. In this next fiscal year, we'll be partnering with the Boys and Girls Club of Metro South for 2 more sessions. Operationally, in FY23, we want to continue to streamline our system and digitize records. We also want to purchase enough tasers and interoperable digital radios to outfit all our offices and acquire some unmanned aircraft systems. The Brockton Police Department currently has a crisis intervention team that consists of licensed technicians and crisis intervention trained officers. We're looking to increase that number for co-response shifts with a clinician and officer, go out and visit through calls of service for people that present mental and behavioral issues. So we're looking to increase that to 12 per month. We also are focusing on our community policing. We will continue our Brockton Link Up, which is a 2-part strategy grant. This first part allows officers to go out with a recovery coach to conduct outreach to individuals at risk of substance use disorder and link them with the sources they need. Whilst the second part focuses on talking to business owners and teaching them about ways that they can protect their businesses. In both parts of the program, officers conduct community surveys and report quality of life issues through See Click Fix. For the last 2 years, the Brockton Police Department has had a victim assistance program. We have a full-time civilian advocate, someone who can assist victims of crime with acquiring 209As, let them know what the process is and the process entails for the court. It directs and assists with other city resources. Our civilian advocate reaches out to victims daily and is available to assist our citizens as needed. And lastly, as many of you know, the Brockton Police has had a car seat program for over 18 years. We've distributed last year over 150 car seats to families. We're grateful to the partnership of Copeland Toyota, Cincinnati Children's, and Buckle Up for Life. This is a way for the department to help protect our youngest citizens. We will be continuing to work with Buckle Up for Life in this next fiscal year. This list only details a part of what Brockton police officers do every day to engage and collaborate, to be the link and resources, and to protect the city and its residents. So thank you again for your support.
Thank you, Chief. Councilors, Councilor Azak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chief and Captain Williamson. Thank you for being here, and congratulations on your first budget.
Thank you.
So a lot of exciting things, exciting programs, which I'm happy to hear about. And I know last year during this time, your predecessor, Chief Gomes, talked about the cadet program. So I was happy to see that it's happening. I got to meet a cadet just the other day outside here, and it's really exciting to see our youth participating and being an asset also to the police department in building our youth, educating them to hopefully one day becoming police officers. So it was really exciting to see that.
Thank you.
Earlier on this evening, I spoke with our Parks Commissioner, Mr. Tim Carpenter, about getting more police presence in our parks, especially DW Fields Park. And we've been talking about this for years. We've talked about park rangers. We've talked about we need a constant police presence, you know, not just once in a while, but because our parks, first of all, DW Fields Park is a jewel in our city, but our parks are, especially during COVID, were used a lot more. So they're assets in the city of Brockton. So, and he said, you know, we could meet off outside of these hearings, but definitely this is something that I want you to consider, is dedicating police officers. I know that now the police stop and either open the gates, close the gates, drive through the parks, and off and on, we have had a designated police officer. He did mention Officer Anderson, I believe, but I really think we need to build maybe just a park team that would be designated to our parks, mainly DW and some of the parks. I think that would definitely help with our public safety and with the kids. So that's something I just wanted to bring up in case you didn't hear it. It did come up earlier this evening. So we keep that in mind.
I'll be more than happy to sit down and discuss options that we can develop together.
Thank you, and I truly appreciate that. So that's really all I have. I appreciate all that you all do, and I've always said, and I know fire always gets a little, you're our number one public safety, people, so I support you, and I know whatever you need, I know you can rely on me, and I'm sure my colleagues, so we can work together, because that's what we're here for the best of Brockton. So thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Anybody else? Councilor Castro.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for being here. I have a question on page 324 under performance measures. And item number 8 is number of monthly clinician co-response shifts. Would you explain that to me?
Sure. Through our jail diversion Department of Mental Health grant, we have a clinician and a officer go out to co-responses. These they pair together and actually go out to visit citizens that have been identified through calls of service, whether having a mental or behavioral issue for assistance. So we've had that already currently this year, and we're looking to, in the next fiscal year, do more of them, more of those co-response shifts.
Mm-hmm. Would you need more grant funds to do that?
So right now we have 6, we're going up to 12, and kind of testing it as we go to see, you know, the need and the response that we're getting. So for right now, I believe that 12 is the next step.
That's great.
Thank you.
I think many in the public don't know all of the work that the police do through the grants that you obtain of a social service nature. And I think Michelle St. James, your grant writer, does a tremendous job. She's very responsive, answers questions, does research. I just think she is a credit to your organization. And it's a pleasure to work with her on these matters.
Appreciate it. She is definitely a tremendous asset to our department.
Oh, yes. And I will be calling you about a couple of other issues that affect Ward 4, but we don't have to do it now.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Minicello.
Good evening, Chief. Good to see you.
Good evening.
On the same page, item 7, unmanned aircraft systems acquired. Page,
Yes.
are those drones?
Yes.
And what do the drones cost?
What is the cost?
Yeah, approximately.
I'd have to research that. It's something we're just starting. I don't think we've utilized them yet.
We have not received any. We're looking to.
I don't want to throw out a wrong number, but
Approximately, that's all.
Just a brief description, Council. Before I came to Brockton, when I was the town manager in Hanover, we actually started the first FAA licensed municipal drone program in the Commonwealth, so it's an issue that I have some experience with. At that time, that was a few years ago, the drones that we purchased were approximately $1,500 to $2,000 a piece.
Those drones, I believe, are they capable of search and rescue, heat seeking, locating perhaps, lost individuals, someone with dementia, lost child, lost adult, that an elderly person that might be in trouble in the wintertime and we're looking for them?
So the simple answer is yes. I mean, so there are add-ons and additional capabilities that of course cost more money, but infrared and all of those things, they can be very useful, and that's why many municipalities start those programs. And I think that's important to note. It's for generally public safety and finding lost people, detecting fires, and those sorts of things.
They're not in use yet, or they are going to be in use soon, or?
Yeah, we're looking to get them this next fiscal year, and we're looking to basically utilize them for search and rescue and those types of things.
I was doing a little reading on them, and the unfortunate incident we had at the park with the two little boys, some of the drones were capable, would have been capable if we had them, to see where, the heat off of the body. So it would be for quicker response time to know exactly where a person is, even if they're in water. So I would definitely support, the sooner the better in terms of getting those online, because I just think it would be beneficial for, search and rescue and all sorts of circumstances that we might not even contemplate right now, but I think that would be wonderful as a tool for the city and certainly for your department. So, and I want to thank you for coming tonight, and I want to thank you for your cooperation. I know we've been talking a little bit about the old Braymore, and you've been wonderful. So I look forward to working in the future with you and your department.
Thank you, appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Anybody else? Nobody else? That's all we've got for you, Chief. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Next department is Auditing Department, Karen Praval.
Good evening, Madam Auditor. Yeah, might as well.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and City Councilors. I'm honored to be here tonight to present the FY23 Auditing Department's budget. Over the last 10 days that I've been working with the city, I have definitely seen that the team in the Auditor's Department, they're dedicated, and they really take pride in the work, in the performance of making sure that we are doing things in a very prudent and financial way. I wanted to thank Anne Marie Raymond. She served as the interim director for the past 2 years, and I thank her for her leadership that she provided to the auditing office over those 2 years. I also wanted to thank the team that we currently have. They're very welcoming. I look forward to working with everyone within our office, all of the department heads, the mayor, and city councilors. Some of the goals of the auditing department is to protect the fiduciary interests of the city by providing timely oversight of all the city's accounting systems, ensuring that financial transactions are executed legally and effectively in accordance to Massachusetts general law. The services that we provide in the city, we do review, processing payments, which include payroll and vendor payments. We also prepare all the financial reports in accordance to generally accepted accounting principles to the state and federal agencies, including the Department of Revenue. We currently have 6 staff members in the office. We have 3 vacant positions, and we're requesting a position as the external auditor liaison. I welcome any questions.
Councilor Mendez.
Hello.
Hi.
How are we doing in filling the vacant positions? Because I know that that's a huge issue and concern with the auditor department due to all the vacancies.
I'm in the process of evaluating what the needs are in the department. We, with the staff that we currently have, they are taking on responsibilities for the vacant positions. So that's one of my priorities, is to work with HR department and to have those positions advertised as soon as possible. But I wanted to take at least a few days to get to know the staff, to get to know what we're doing in the department and understand the needs of what we need.
And when we usually see this many vacancies, we usually see a higher number in overtime. But you actually decreased it 33%.
I think that, as I had mentioned before, that the members of our staff, they take pride in the work they do. And we have consultants. As you look at our budget, our consultant line, we have a consultant that assists with some of the work that's done in the department. So then all the staff aren't taking on all of the work right now, but we do have assistants to help us fill that gap of having those vacancies.
As to the open checkbooks online, you have to go and upload it. I know that it has been very behind. Has then been caught up to date because it was months behind?
Those are all things that I'll be addressing, as the department head, and I can, give you more information as I have more time in the department. But that's something that we're always looking for, is transparency, making sure information is available. If there's things that you need or you have questions, I, always responding to those in a, pretty quick manner. At least I'll give you a time frame of how long it would take before, I could, provide that information to you.
As you can see, you have plenty of work. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Anybody else for the auditor? Councilor D'Agostino, followed by Councilor Castro.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, thank you for being here with us these last several nights as well. In addition to having to present your own budget, you've also been helping us with our meetings. So I appreciate all that time and effort. Glad to have you here and look forward to working with you. I just bring this up. There was some discussion last night about it with Mr. Clarkson as well. The issues in Munis being on the accounts committee, and the level of detail. I think you had kind of said that you'd be able to address that maybe with additional modules in Munis, or just there was some way that you were going to be able to provide additional information to us.
So with Munis, there are a lot of modules, just with my experience working here as a budget director, that weren't utilized. So one of the tasks that I have is really working with Munis, working with the consultants, and seeing how we can utilize the software in a more efficient manner. But we will be there having an upgrade that's going to be happening over the summer, and it's going to be a lot more user-friendly, but having worked in Munis and other municipalities, I believe there are modules that could allow us to do things more efficiently, to, cut down on paper. I'm always looking at ways to, reduce paper, try to automate, the procedures that we currently have. So I definitely believe that there's an opportunity, excuse me, with Munis to look at those different modules that could allow us to do things a little more efficiently.
Okay, and just some of the things that I think myself and my colleagues on the accounts committee kind of go a little nuts over is, we'll see an item, and it's other contract services. That's lovely. What did you buy? And it turns out, often, some of the more recent ones is, it was a school police cruiser. Okay, well, that item, contract services, didn't really tell us what it was that was bought, so now we gotta ask, we gotta find out. So just things like that that would make it a little more clear if there was a way to categorize it in such a way that I didn't have to ask in a meeting, well, what did you buy? We know, okay, that was a school police cruiser. Again, and I've never used Munis, I don't know what the limitations of it are. I understand every software has its limitations, but just to give you an example of the kinds of things that, we've brought up of like, okay, if we could get a little more clear description on the warrant sheets that we get, there might not be so many things that we have to ask about because we'd know. So I look forward to, if you're able to help provide us a little clearer information on those reports.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I do have, you mentioned consultants and using consultants. I know we've talked a lot about that the last 3 days. Your consultant item is not all that high.
So our, excuse me, our line item, so we have 2 line items where consultants are paid from.
Is the rest of it in the auditing?
Yes.
That's what I was
And I can
wondering.
go through that.
Yeah.
If you turn to page 151 in your book, there's a line under the purchase of services, there's auditing, and there's consultants. Under the auditing line, we pay 3 different consultants. We pay, and to date, we've spent $274,543.43 within that line item. That consists of money that we pay to Clifton Lawson Allen, who is our outside auditor. And you prepare our financial reports and they audit the city and make sure that we're in compliance. And they do, they go in and they do sample checks to make sure what we're doing is consistently in the proper manner. We also utilize Munis consultant, Pamela Woods, and she helps us with different financial reports that the city, and we have a certified public accountant, Dominic Capolo, who's also paid for from that line item.
Okay.
And then the consultant line is from Munis.
So you have a Munis consultant out of the auditing line, and then 20,000 in the consultant item is for Munis, like someone from Munis?
Not someone from Munis, but a consultant that helps us if there's questions in terms of using Munis and fixing different accounts. It could be running different reports. I would have to look into it, more deeply, look at the invoices to give you more information and background on exactly what their tasks are and services that they have provided. But I did a little research before coming, knowing that this was a question that has come up and for the other departments.
What I'm really curious about is and if you can't answer it right now, that's fine, but you have that consultant item of 20 grand regarding Munis, and then you have the Munis consultant in the auditing side. What is the difference in what those 2 people are advising?
I'd have to look into that a little deeper. As I'm looking at the reports, I'm running, vendor activity reports, and I can look at the vendors, but in terms of the actual service and everything that they provide, and as you were mentioning before, transparency with chart of accounts, schedule of values, making sure things are coded under the proper line item in terms of the description of what the work is happening, those are things that I'll be looking into, but I can look into that further and provide that information to you.
That's fine, and I know you've only been back, 2 weeks at this point, so I understand that you're just getting the opportunity to get in and really start to dig into things. So when you have an opportunity, if you could look into that for me.
Oh, definitely.
That would be wonderful. I would very much appreciate it. And then, so I may be misunderstanding this. The external auditor liaison that's proposed for $125,000 roughly. If I understood right, we're paying somebody outside to do that already.
That's correct. So this position would ultimately allow the city to have a full-time CPA in the office that could assist in the financial reporting compared to a part-time consultant that we currently use to help prepare a lot of the different financial statements and assist the office in terms of questions that may come up regarding accounting.
Okay. So the part-time consultant that you're using now in this role, where were they funded from? It's probably a Troy question because you were here to know maybe. Where was that funded from in the current budget year?
That's funded out of the line item for auditing.
Oh, okay, so that's one of the consultants in the auditing item?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, perfect. And there was actually a substantial cut from last year's budget to this year's budget in that item of 22%, so now that all makes sense. Thank you very much, I appreciate your time. Thank you,
Welcome.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Nicastro, followed by Counselor Minicello.
Good evening, Ms. Preval.
Good evening.
Hold on, where's my question? On page 149, personal services, in the little box summary, you've got part-time $30,000. Can you give me an idea of what that's for?
Yes, we use that money for interns. Currently, right now, we have one intern in the office. He works 2 days a week, Thursday and Friday. And I, hope that, as we have more interns, that we can give them an opportunity to learn. I think that municipal government, especially in accounting, it's hard to you don't learn everything when you're in school. And so anything that we can do, I'm glad there's money in the budget to allow people to come in, allow, myself having 20 years working in municipal government to be able to mentor and to build skill sets for, for our, young, aspiring, hopefully, they'll look to, local government as a career in the future. But that's what that money is for.
Thank you. My best of luck to you in this role.
Thank you so much, Counselor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Minicello.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
The external auditor liaison that's proposed, you mentioned that some of those services now are being paid for through the auditing line, the 249,443.
Yes.
But in that account, you said is already up to 278 currently? So it's beyond that amount right there?
No. So currently, right now, that 274,000, 147,000 has already been expensed to the part-time CPA that assists the city with the financials. 13,000 has been expensed to Munis Consultant and 114 to Clifton Larson Allen, who is our outside auditor.
And that, all that's up to the 249?
274, yes.
So it's more than what was listed there?
Excuse me?
Oh, okay, okay. So if you anticipate hiring the external audit liaison, how do you think that will impact that auditing amount in the future?
I think that as I assess the department and I look to see what role the part-time gentleman that's working in our office, and I look to see what different role I'll be playing in, different reporting that I can do, I can give you a better answer to how those roles will actually play out. But, as this, as a city auditor, I have a lot of experience in, doing a lot of different reporting that's required to the Department of Revenue that we currently outsource. But then, having that expertise in CPA in the office, I think is something that would be very beneficial, just considering how large the city is and making sure that we have some type of, consultant available but on staff.
And those other positions, the grade level 2, 2 grade level 2s that are vacant, will those have any impact on the auditing line as well, do you think, or is it too soon to tell?
So in terms of the staff that we have right now, we have an assistant auditor, we have a accounts payable supervisor, we have a payroll supervisor and a payroll clerk. The positions that we're looking at is a compliance, quality, and technical control administrator and the accountant and an administrative assistant. Those positions work a lot on the daily activity, so a lot of the journal entries, a lot of the research that goes between the reporting that we have to send out. So there's a lot of work that's being done in the department, and I think as I'm able to assess the workload, I'm able to assess the amount of time that people spend, I can answer these questions a little bit more.
I see what you're saying. Would it be, I guess, reasonable to anticipate that if and when we hire the external auditor liaison, that the part-time line item or, the part-time amounts that are paid out would not be necessary or go down? Or?
I think if we have a full-time staff, CPA within the department, we would be able to save money within the auditing line in terms of the amount of money that we spend to that consultant. And if it came to that point, where we could, reduce that, then that's something that we would look at doing, but that is definitely something that,
Yeah, you just need
based
time
off of the budget, I came into the budget, I think this is
You definitely need time to
some of the lines.
absorb and assess. I totally understand that. Thank you very much, and welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Anybody else for the auditor? All right, we go to auditing mailroom.
The auditing department manages the mail for the entire city, and we are requesting approval of this budget. Does anybody have any questions?
Counselors, any questions for the mailroom? See no questions, Madam Auditor. Go to telephone.
All the telephone expenses are paid for out of the auditing department, and I'm requesting your approval of this budget as well. Do you have any questions?
Counselor Azak.
Good evening, Madam Auditor. So I know you just said that all the telephones are paid out of the auditor, but in individual budgets, we do see telephone. So how does...
So the telephone line items in the individual budget normally cover cell phones.
Oh, so those are all cell phones? Okay.
Maybe I should refer that. I've been gone for a couple years, so things could have changed, but I can
Because some of them
ask
were
the
pretty
CFO.
big, and I'm like, I think most of them were in Mr. Clarkson's budget.
The auditing line pays for the telephone service, the auditor is correct, in City Hall. There are some monies in other budgets, I believe, for telephone services in other buildings. We did consolidate, I believe, in last year's budget, so Karen is relieved from responsibility because she wasn't here. Most of the cell phone costs, if you remember, into the IT budget. So off the top of my head, I don't believe there's a lot of telephone money in other budgets, but we can certainly double check that. And if there are, I do remember when we had the conversation last year, there were some departments that used those for other electronic devices and some other things. So most of those cell phone costs have been consolidated in IT.
Okay. And thank you, Mr. Clarkson. I'll go back and look, because I know I had seen them in some of the budgets, but I thought it was for their individual phone lines. But when I was on the IT board when we converted, maybe 4 years ago or something, we converted the phone system, and supposedly it was supposed to save us a lot of money. So is it saving us did it save us money?
I can look into that for you.
That would be great, because I
let
remember
you
we
know.
went through, like, it was huge. We changed over all the phone and the type of phone system. And I remember clearly being in a meeting, IT director at the time, Mr. Santos, stated that it was going to save us overall money, because there was a lot of lines that we were paying for that we didn't need to. So if you can let me know, that would be great.
I definitely will.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Counselor. Anybody else? All right, that does us for auditing telephone.
Retirement non-contributory, Karen Praval.
Madam Auditor.
Good evening. We have, back in the 70s, there were employees that were allowed to receive pension payments just for having been an employee. We have one remaining employee that's being paid, and we pay that person bi-weekly for around $17,000. But that number has, as people decease, that amount decreases. But we have one person right now that we're currently paying.
All right, Counselors. Counselor Azak.
Thank you. So this may not have anything to do with the retirement, but you brought up the payments bi-weekly. That's another thing that had come up in the past, that possibly getting all city employees at the same level instead of doing bi-weekly, weekly. I think it would save us money as well as direct deposit. These things, is there anything we can do to kind of move that along or help speed that up? Because I was under the understanding that if we were to get everybody on the same timeline or same payment, that it would save the city money.
That has come up while I worked for the city of Cambridge. We did go from bi-weekly to weekly, and I think the most important thing is collaboration and communication, working collaboratively with the Human Resources Department, working with the departments, working with the unions, and within that transition, and just coming to the table to figure out what mechanisms we need to put in place to have a smooth transition to go into that. But I think it's something that, we just have to come to the table, start brainstorming and looking what our options are. But that's something that has been mentioned to me. There are a lot of things that, as I meet with staff, as I meet with departments, really looking at, what are some of the challenges, what are some of the things that we'd like to do that will make departments and staff's jobs easier, make things more efficient. So that is an example of one of the areas that we will be we'll be looking at.
Thank you, and I think that would be great as well. So whatever we can do on our end, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, councilors.
Thank you, Counselor. Anybody else for retirement non-contributory? All right. Thank you, Madam Auditor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and councilors.
Counselors, that concludes night 3 of our budget hearings. I'm going to adjourn this meeting. The folks at home, don't change the channel. We'll be back in 5 minutes for the City Council's special meeting on the budget. Thank you, Counselors.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, you're adjourning, you're not?
I am adjourning. No recess, adjourning.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, we are adjourned. We are unadjourned. I made an error and I apologize. We do need to take a vote to refer this back to the City Council.
Okay, I make a motion.
Counselor Azak.
I make a motion to.
Are we on?
We're good, Mr. Clark?
Did you make a motion to refer back to the full city council?
We are about to.
That's what I was going to.
Counselor Azak.
I make a motion to refer the fiscal 2022,
No, 23.
23 budget back
Time
to,
flies.
Great minds.
it does fly, back to city council.
Motion's been properly made and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes. Okay, we really will be back in 5 this time. We are adjourned.